More than 40 firefighters attended an incident at a car workshop in Aylesbury last night. Crews from Aylesbury, Waddesdon, Great Missenden, Princes Risborough, High Wycombe and Stokenchurch were called to the fire at Anglo Business Park at around 10 to 7. It broke out in one of the units in a 6-unit building in Smeaton Close. The blaze was under control by 8:15 and firefighters finally left the scene at 11 p.m. The family of a man who died while being arrested by police in Wycombe are staging a protest today to press for answers. Ewan Duncan has the details.
The friends and family of Habibullah are due to hold a vigil outside High Wycombe Police Station later today as they continue to seek answers about his death. Habib died in August 2008 after an altercation during a routine stop and search on a vehicle in a car park in the town. But an inquest into his death was abandoned 2 years later. This will be the 12th vigil organised by his family, who've also held a march in support of Habib. Thames Valley Police says the case remains with the Independent Police Complaints Commission.
Hertfordshire County Council's apologised after personal documents were found outside a former adult care facility. The documents, including a staff appraisal, were discovered at the side of the road in Hatfield this week. Our political reporter Paul Scoynes has the details.
The documents appear to come from a former depot owned by the council, but currently being demolished for housing. BBC Three Counties Radio has been told that one of the documents includes a member of staff's appraisal from 2005, detailing personal information about their work and their address. The council says it will investigate and says it thought that the documents had been cleared. This follows an incident in 2011 where the council was found to have breached the Data Protection Act and was rebuked by the Information Commissioner.
Finally, rugby, and the man tipped to captain the Lions in their decisive test against Australia this weekend, Brian O'Driscoll, has been left out of the 23-man squad. The Welsh forward Alan Wynne-Jones will lead the team instead. The weather today, drizzle at first, but becoming brighter with a top temperature of 22 degrees Celsius, that's 72 Fahrenheit. Get the latest news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/Three Counties.
What was... I was chuckling during your news there, Catherine.
Oh, I'm glad to entertain.
Yeah, because Paul Scoynes' voice was just on the radio there, but it was a pre-recorded package. He used a tape recorder to record it. He's downstairs with me, aren't you, Paul?
Hi.
And during that bit, I got Paul to mime it was like being on Top of the Pops in 1986. He was miming his own report.
Was he convincing?
No, not at all, but it was very, very entertaining. I've not taken any of your credibility away, have I, Paul?
No, it was already gone.
Good. By the way, this bit's going to go on for about 1 minute 30 if there's time to make coffee in it.
It won't be time to brew it.
OK, that's disappointing. Very disappointing. Very poor show there. Morning. This is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. There's something in the air this morning. There's something in the air. I don't know what it is, but there's something. Lots coming up on the show this morning that I'm sure you'd like to have your say about, including non-EU citizens could be charged to use the NHS. The idea is part of new plans announced by the government. Well, maybe we should all have to pay more for the NHS. Later on in the show, I'll be speaking to the family of a man who died in custody in High Wycombe. They're still waiting for answers about his death 5 years later. We'll also hear what the IPCC is doing about it. And here's a story, page 3 of the Mail. Sainsbury's has apologised to a shopper who was refused service because she was on the phone when she went to the checkout. Well, I don't think they should have apologised. Is it rude to be on the phone when you're in a shop, either as a customer or as a server? Facebook.com/BBC3CR. I think server's the right word. You can send me a text, 81333, start your text 3CR, or you can give me a call, 08459 455 555.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Herts County Council is under fire for losing personal data just a year after it was criticised by the Information Commissioner for doing the same thing. Personal documents, including a member of staff's appraisal, have been found just blowing around on a road in Hatfield. The council is investigating. Political reporter Paul Scoynes has the story. What's happened? Where has all this come from?
Well, these papers, Iain...
You've got some there?
Yes.
That you went and picked up yesterday?
No, our reporter Sophie went out and looked at them later.
Right, thank you.
Looked at them earlier. That one's probably the most interesting insofar that it has names on it, although nothing of particularly sensitive nature. The papers were found outside an old warehouse in Hatfield, depots in Hatfield. It was an adult care services depot alongside Mount Pleasant Lane.
What is an adult care services depot? What does that mean? Is that people with health conditions?
No, I think it was the actual, if you imagine, rather than it wasn't a facility.
Right,
so there weren't people there, but it was almost like a storage facility.
Okay, right, thank you.
That is in the process of being demolished. It's being turned into housing. Now, it's believed that these papers sort of fell out of the facility in the demolition process. However, they shouldn't really have been there because the council say that they contracted somebody in, or we don't know, maybe I'll come to that statement a bit later on, but what we think is that the council thought they'd been removed. Clearly, they hadn't been.
And what sort of information we found? We've got some documents. There's nothing particularly revealing there. Okay. There's one there with a name and...
Yeah, this is clearly a receipt for adult care services items. It's, up to around £2,500 or so. There's, blank pieces. I mean, they've got a compliment slip here. There's a sort of a blank carer's form here about... more
revealing pieces of paper have been discovered, haven't they?
Yes, this was all discovered by a Liberal Democrat councillor who's on the county council, and he said that he was walking down the road, saw these for quite a while, saw this sort of rubbish in the verge, and said, well, I'm going to go and have a look at that. Found what appears and what is indeed somebody's appraisal, including their full name and their details. So all of their work details, how they'd done at work and so on, their name, their manager's name, all that sort of thing, where they worked, and that, he said, is a clear breach of regulations. We'll hear from him a bit later on, but he also said that some of the documents here, including care names and various other bits of headed notepaper, could be used in the process of fraud by individuals as well.
Does this breach the Data Protection Act?
Well, certainly the names, the appraisal would appear to do that. It would, if it's got somebody's name, it's got somebody's work history, it's got somebody's comments about how they work, that sort of stuff. That's clearly not something you would expect to be in the public domain. The Information Commissioner Office told me yesterday that councils have a legal obligation to keep personal information securely, and when it's not needed, they must dispose of it correctly and confidentially. They've got a legal obligation to do that. The ICA also said that they wouldn't normally investigate unless there'd been a complaint made to them, though if they see stories particularly pointing to a breach, they may contact the authority directly.
This is Herts County Council we're talking about. It's not the first time they've been found to have broken data protection guidelines, is it?
No, that's right. They were given an undertaking, effectively, they were told off last year by the ICA. They had a loss of a folder containing more sensitive data, actually, primary school visits, including the names of the children, and the council actually hadn't told, or they didn't report to the ICO that had happened for 8 months. They didn't take enforcement action because they said that the council officer had taken steps to resolve it, but in that notice the council was warned to take more care in the way that they look after their physical data, and to only make sure that hard copy documents were removed from properties when they had to be, if you like. The council have been invited onto the programme, Iain. They've sadly declined.
Okay, that's disappointing.
They have sent us a short statement. Derek Ashley, who's the member for Resources, Cabinet Member for Resources, says that in 2009, as part of the move from the site, we made arrangements for the removal and disposal of all of our operational assets as part of a standard site closure procedure, and we apologise that in this instance it would appear that not all of this work was successfully carried out. We are investigating how that happened and to ensure that it does not happen again.
How difficult is it to put bits of paper into a shredder or a furnace?
Well,
it's an afternoon's work.
It is, and enjoyable at that, but it would seem that that statement in itself looks interesting because we made arrangements for the removal. Does that mean that they contracted somebody in to do that, or does that mean that the council did it themselves? It would be interesting to see what happens. Unfortunately, we're not, at the moment anyway, going to be able to ask the council those questions.
Paul Scoins, thank you very much, and you're right. Shredding or burning documents is a lot of fun, isn't it? Very satisfying. 08459 455 555. Coming up, the NHS. People outside of the EU may be asked to pay a little bit of money. Well, should we all pay a little bit more for our NHS? Make sense, wouldn't it? Talk to you after this. The Bee Gees. Oh, that sounds interesting.
You couldn't give me what everybody needs. I shouldn't let you kick me when I'm down, my baby. Finding out everybody knows that you've been using me. I'm so
BBC Three Counties Radio. There's a cracking story in the newspapers. Customer in a Sainsbury's goes up to the till. She's on the mobile phone, gets all the stuff on the counter as you do, and the woman behind the counter just looks at her. And the woman on the phone goes, "Sorry, is there a problem?" "Yeah, I'll serve you when you finish your phone call." It's store policy. Woman says, "Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I've got to go." Put the phone down, did the thing. Went to the customer services, and customer services, no, it's not store policy at all. No, that woman was acting on her own. Sainsbury's have since sent this woman an apology and £10 voucher. I don't think they should have done. I don't think there's anything ruder than anybody involved in a transaction in a shop being on their telephone. The corner shop near where I used to live, not the new one, that guy's excellent, but where I used to, always on the telephone. Wouldn't even look at me sometimes. How rude. The petrol station as well, opposite where I used to live, always on the phone. Hated it. But if I don't want the people serving me on the phone, then I have to respect that, and I can't be on the phone either, can I? Surely, if you're in a shop making a transaction, either as the person serving or as the customer, neither of you should be on the telephone. What have you found in the three counties? Have you been in stores where they've been on the telephone? Or maybe you work in a shop and people come in using their phone. Isn't it one of the rudest things around? 81333. Start your text 3CR. Don't do it in a shop. That will be out of order.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
So far this morning, all looking rather good. We have no problems on the roads, everything moving nicely on the M40 and on the M25 through the roadworks section. Cameras are not showing any delays along the M1 or the A1M, and things seem to be moving okay into and out of London on most of the major routes as well. A10 looking clear as you go through Enfield. On the trains, there are no delays. On the tubes, though, we have problems for the Victoria line. Severe delays. The service is recovering from the late finish of engineering work at Seven Sisters. Tickets will still be taken on London buses and Greater Anglia services for the time being. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Adam, thank you very much. 6:16, it's Wednesday the 3rd of July. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. The government is planning to start charging some foreigners to use the NHS. The family of a man who died while being arrested by police in Wickham are staging a protest today to press for answers. In sport, Wales lock Alan Wynne-Jones will captain the Lions in the final rugby test against Australia on Saturday after Brian O'Driscoll was dropped from the squad. The weather today for beds, hearts and bucks. Drizzle at first, then becoming brighter with a top temperature of 22 degrees. Coming up before 6:30, we'll speak to the family of the man who died during his arrest in High Wycombe in 2008. If you want to take part in the show, talking about any of the things we're mentioning or anything else, do give me a call. 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio. Nick Coffer on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Tomorrow I'm talking to one of the biggest names in music. Mid-year tells us how he nearly became a member of the Sex Pistols.
It just didn't make any sense to me at all, so it transpired that band that he was talking about was the Sex Pistols.
The phenomenon that was Live Aid and his battle with alcohol.
The look in my daughter's eyes was enough to just stop me in my tracks, and I stopped at that point.
Mid-year talking to me, Nick Coffer, tomorrow from midday here on BBC Three Counties Radio.
So good.
So the government is considering charging some foreign nationals for using the NHS. Part of me thinks maybe we should all pay a little bit more for the NHS. Well, Dazda, the healthy trucker, says, I'm not paying more for the NHS. Me and my family hardly use the service now. I'm not paying for families that use it but don't work and pay taxes. Well, in my world, Disaster, I believe that's your name, were you christened that? If I were king, you'd kind of pay at point of service. Like, you know, when you go to the dentist, NHS dentist, that's not free, is it? You pay for that. You pay for a checkup. You pay to get a little bit of work done. Not much, it's subsidised, but you pay something. And that's maybe how going to the doctors should work. You pay a little something as well, a little top-up fee. When you go to the hospital, you contribute towards it. Don't know. Does that make sense? Would you pay a little bit more for the NHS to make it more efficient? 81333. Start your text 3CR or give me a call. 08459 455 555. Now, the family of a man who died during a police search in High Wycombe say they're still waiting for answers 5 years after his death. They're due to hold a vigil outside the town's police station for Habib Ullah. We can talk now to Zia Ullah, who is Habib's cousin. Good morning, Zia.
Hey, hi, good morning.
Zia, tell me about the circumstances that led to Habib's death.
It was a routine stop and search. During the restraint, 5 officers tried to restrain Habib Ullah, and during the process of that restraint, he subsequently died.
And where did this restraint take place? Was it in a police station or was it outside?
It was in a private car park.
Right. And do we know how he died? What is the inquest? Has there been any inquest at all?
We had the inquest. The inquest was some 2 years after the death itself.
Right.
Because of the stark revelations, quite surprisingly, that were unearthed at the inquest. The inquest was forced to be abandoned.
OK, so you've had no answers at all. What have the police said to you?
Well, if the inquest be a point of reference, we've certainly had answers in as much as that there were several statements by the police that were doctored and altered, and very much under the guidance of the police solicitors, and also under the guidance both of the police seniors and the police federation.
Now, Zia, what you're saying there, that's a big allegation to be making. What evidence do you have that these statements were doctored and altered?
It came out under oath at the inquest itself by the officers themselves.
Right. And did they give any reason why they doctored and altered them at this?
They were told to and they were advised to.
When was the inquest abandoned?
It was 2010, December 2010.
It seems incredible to me, Zia, that 5 years later, you still haven't had a definitive answer as to what happened.
Indeed. I mean, it is incredible, but it's no different than perhaps the journey of every other campaign up and down this country. It seems to be a very common practice and a very standard practice. Perhaps it's something that's designed to really try out the patience of many a family.
You suspect that they're hoping you'll just get bored and go off, forget it?
Well, bored being perhaps the wrong word to use. It's really just running out persistence, and it's the sheer frustration. It's you're battling against an institution, and the various support structures around it are no different than the very institution that you're supposed to be challenging. It's not a matter of boredom. It's just a matter of sheer frustration and persistence. What's
the last 5 years been like for you and members of your family?
Well, certainly apart from the grieving itself, we've had, as I just referenced, we've had various misleading statements that were put out around Habib from the Thames Valley police officers. We've had, both as campaign organisers, we've had warnings issued against us, very much sort of suggesting that the police unions agreed with what happened to Habib Ullah, and if we as campaigners didn't know any different, the same would happen to us.
Hang on a second. Are you saying that you've been threatened?
Yes, and this was a complaint that's been upheld in 2009 itself. It was a complaint that we then had a written apology from a senior officer who's subsequently now then been removed from High Wycombe. He's gone elsewhere.
Okay, just no names. I know you know that, but just
no.
We have to tread carefully.
To give a
course.
At this stage, although I say at this stage, it's 5 years down the road.
I know it must be frustrating.
Yes.
The IPCC are looking into this. Have they had discussions with you since the inquest?
the IPCC. Okay, we hold out very little for the IPCC. We, and I'm sure many other families up and down the country, engage with the IPCC because it is the structure that's presented to us. If I can go back, and I would certainly advise listeners to do so, if you go onto the BBC iPlayer, please check out the Panorama programme, Watching the Detectives. We were able to unearth an email that was sent from the Commissioner to the independent investigators on our case, and it was very much about the Commissioner suggesting to the investigators to go very soft on the officers concerned and to go very soft on their investigations.
See, I can hear the frustration in your voice. Are you confident that you'll get the answers that you want, even if you persist with this?
Yes, it's a collective justice. I think that's probably the better way of putting together, because there's been so many deaths up and down this country, because there's been so many campaigns and certainly so many families. It's the collective notion of the families coming together, and we're beginning to unearth practices, not least from the start we were told that there's an investigation going on. That investigation transpires into the IPCC turning up and being handed statements from the officers concerned. The officers have sat around in a room and conferred a single narrative, a single story. That, to me, isn't really independent investigation. Hence, 5 years down the road, we are waiting for the CPS now to make a decision on turning this into a criminal investigation. So each of those officers will be independently interviewed, and each of those officers are looking at independent criminal allegations upon them.
Zia, you're holding a vigil outside the High Wycombe police station. What do you hope to achieve with that?
The essence of the vigil really is just to ensure that every chance that we have, we're forever profiling exactly what the family's gone through, and all the bad practice that we've unearthed in a short period of those 5 years.
Zia, thanks very much for coming on this morning. That's Zia Allah, who's Habib Allah's cousin, who died 5 years ago during a routine stop and search. 5 years later, still haven't got any answers. A Thames Valley Police spokeswoman said the case is still with the Independent Police Complaints Commission and they're waiting the outcome of its investigation. An IPCC spokesman said the IPCC's reopened investigation into the death of Mr Allah is nearing conclusion. 5 Thames Valley police officers have been interviewed under criminal caution as part of the expert investigation. Expert restraint opinion around the use of force and medical opinion has been revisited in the light of the new information arising from the adjourned inquest. We recently met the family to update them on the progress. Just put yourself in that position of that family. 5 years later, you still don't know what happened. You still don't know if people are guilty. You don't know anything. How are you supposed to deal with that? 08459 455 555 is the phone number. You can send me a text this morning, 81333. Start your text 3CR, and you can go to the Facebook page. It's getting feisty on the Facebook page. I'm enjoying it. 81333. What am I talking about? I'm all over the place this morning. I know. It's only Wednesday. That's a bad sign for the rest of the week if I'm confusing myself by Wednesday. Facebook.com/BBC3CR is, of course, what I meant to say.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Through Hitchin, the A505 roadworks continue around West Hill. They're doing these works through until, middle of next week. Verulam Road in St Albans, there's some electricity work at New England Street, and you could get caught up in the delays around the closure of Boscombe Road, southbound through Dunstable. It's still shut off between Chiltern Park and the A505 while they upgrade the Luton Road, Boscombe Road junction. That's going to be for another couple of weeks. And Aylesbury Road in Kimble is closed at the minute for roadworks at the junction with Grove Lane. They're hoping to have that one done by Friday and reopened then. Everything looking pretty decent at the minute on the major routes. We have no delays on the motorways. Everything running nicely on the trains as well. However, on the tubes, severe delays for the Victoria line while the service recovers from the late finish of engineering work at Seven Sisters. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Adam, thanks very much. 6:30, News and Sport now with Catherine.
Across beds, hearts and bugs.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning, the headlines. headlines. The government's planning to start charging some foreigners to use the NHS. The government setting out its detailed plans to expand and equip Britain's part-time forces when the Territorial Army is renamed the Army Reserve. And the family of a man who died while being arrested by police in Wickham are staging a protest today to press for answers.
Three Counties Sports.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Wales' second row, Alan Wynne-Jones, will captain the British and Irish Lions in the final test against Australia on Saturday after Brian O'Driscoll was dropped completely from the squad. Ian Robertson reports now from Sydney.
The Lions' manual for winning a Test series has been cast aside. In a high-risk gamble, the Lions have made 7 changes, 1 positional. They won the first test and made 5 changes. It's all change again. Brian O'Driscoll has been axed altogether. Jamie Roberts replaces him in the team. Manitou Alangi comes onto the bench. Mike Phillips is chosen in place of Ben Youngs, who also drops out of the squad. Conor Murray is on the bench. In the pack, 2 changes in the front row. In come Alex Corbisiero and Richard Hibbard for Makavunapola and Tom Youngs. And 2 changes in the back row. Toby Faletau and Sean O'Brien replace Jamie Heaslip and Sam Warburton. There are 10 Welsh players in the team, a record for a Lions test.
It's men's quarter-finals day at Wimbledon, and Andy Murray will be on court at around 4 o'clock this afternoon to take on Spain's Fernando Verdasco. Here's Jonathan Overend.
Almost everything points towards a Murray win. He hasn't dropped a set so far, has an 8-1 winning record over the Spaniard at tour level, and knows this is Verdasco's first Wimbledon quarter-final, and the only time he's strung this many wins together all year. However, the left-hander can be dangerous. His flashy forehand is up there with some of the game's most devastating weapons, and his serve is underrated. If Murray can nullify those threats early, then surely he can look forward to a 5th successive Wimbledon semi-final, an incredible record.
Luton Town will find out their conference fixtures for next season later this morning. The announcement's due at 11 o'clock, and the Hatters are once again favourites to win the league. Finally, Stevenage striker Michael Thalasitis. You can help me with this one.
Go on.
Thalasitis.
Yeah, that's it.
Is that him?
Yeah, probably.
Do you like him?
He's brilliant. He's one of my favourites. What is this?
It's a shame. He's joined Ebbsfleet on a season-long loan.
Oh, nuts. I've got no idea what you just said.
He's gone. Never mind, eh?
Are you gone, or you got more?
Thalasitis. Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. A little bit of casual racism there, Catherine. It's fine.
Xenophobia.
Oh.
Not racism.
I used to go to school with a girl called Xenophobia. We'll end it here, shall we? Awkward. Silence. Music.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is Iain Lee.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Morning. Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. Lots coming up in the next 30 minutes, including an army on the cheap. Are we happy with that? And would you pay a little bit more to go and see your doctor? Shouldn't we all contribute a little bit more to the NHS? At the point of service, we do with dentists, so what's the problem of doing it with doctors? 08459 455 555. Oh, I like a bit of Thompson Twins.
I have a picture pinned to my wall, an image of you and of me, and we're laughing with love at it all. Look at our life now, all tattered and torn. We fuss and we fight and delight in the tears that we cry until dawn. Some perfect world we know we'll never find. So perhaps I should leave here, yeah, go far away. But you know that there's nowhere that I'd rather be than with you here today.
Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. There's a cracking story, page 3 of the Mail. Who'd have thought I'd ever utter that sentence, and yet I find myself doing it several times a week. Sainsbury's girl refuses to serve shopper on a mobile. A Sainsbury's employee decided... hang on a second. Jo Clark complained to store bosses, she's the customer, that an unidentified worker at Sainsbury's had refused to serve her unless she put her phone down. Sainsbury's has apologised to the 26-year-old property manager, but the confrontation has sparked a lively debate online. The mobile phone incident involving Miss Clark took place at a Sainsbury's last Monday. She said, "I was standing at the foot of the till waiting to bag my shopping up, yet the lady on the checkout was just staring at me. When I stopped my conversation and said, 'Is everything okay?' she said, 'I will not check your shopping out until you get off your mobile phone.' I ended my call swiftly and said to the lady on the checkout, 'Apologies, I didn't realise it was Sainsbury's policy.' She said, 'Well, you learn something new every day.'" Turns out it's not Sainsbury's policy. It was just this woman, this cashier, being a little bit mardy. Good for her, I say. Well done. I hate it when I'm buying things in a shop and the people behind the till are on a mobile phone, and therefore I have to give them the same respect. I can't use a mobile phone when I'm ordering something, buying something. Awful. You know it makes sense. 08459 455 555. Well, our reporter Sophie Soleri is going to put this to the test. Morning, Sophie.
Good morning.
Now, Sophie, you're on the telephone, which is good. Now, you're in Luton. We don't want to know which shop you're going into, but you're going to go into a shop and try and buy something whilst on the phone. Is that correct?
I am. The thing is,
yes.
That means we have to have a conversation about something completely irrelevant to this show.
Okay.
Because otherwise they'll know what I'm doing.
They'll bust you. Well, go in. What kind of shop is it? Give us that.
It's just going to be a newsagent come off licence.
You say just a newsagent. They're one of the most vital parts of the British culture. Sophie, go in.
What do you want me to buy?
I don't know, like a Twix or something. Oh, okay, no, buy a copy of the Daily Mirror, because we don't get that as part of our little thing, and it's only cheap. So go and get... Right, in you go. Go on.
I've only got a £20 note, but that'll be fine.
Oh, look at you. BBC, you see. Right, are you in the shop?
So, yeah, I said to her, you can't have your nails done that colour, otherwise you'll look higher. I'll just get some...
Keep talking on the phone, don't talk to him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I said you can't have that colour.
Sophie, is he giving you a funny look?
It looks bad. No, it looks really bad.
No,
yeah.
Sophie, stop talking about that. He's giving you a funny look?
Yeah.
Is it a dirty look?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Start talking louder.
No.
Laugh hysterically.
Pink with red. You go with it.
Is he giving you a funny look now?
Yes.
Ask him if there's a problem.
Uh-huh. Sorry. Hi. Is there a problem? Sorry. No. Okay. Right. Yeah.
I'll tell him to hurry up.
I've given... Yeah. Oh, can you... I know it's a 20, but can you... Sorry, I'm in a rush. Yeah, sorry, thanks. Yeah, no, I know. Anyway, so I said, no, you can't wear pink with red.
Are you out now?
Can't. It looks bad. No. Okay.
How long does this take?
He's serving someone else. I'll just take my 20 back. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So what happened there was I tried to buy.
Sophie's conversations are so boring. This is what she's actually like, dear listener. This is what you have to put up with in the office.
I'm talking to you now. I'm out.
Oh, are you out now?
Yeah.
What happened?
He moved my item aside and served somebody else.
Really? Because you were on the phone?
Because I was on the phone. Well, also because I looked like a crazy woman.
Well, there is that aspect to it. So let's just clarify. You went into newsagent. What were you trying to buy?
I was trying to buy some chewing gum because he didn't have any papers.
Okay.
And it wasn't a newsagent. Obviously, I mistook that.
Great.
And so I went in.
Yes.
Tried to get some chewing gum with a £20 note. He was rolling his eyes. He laughed when he sort of laughed at me when I laughed, and then he moved me aside to serve somebody else. That was really embarrassing.
Okay, Sophie, listen, good work. Go and investigate more, please. I want to find more. I want to find... See if any shopkeepers actually say something like this woman in Sainsbury's did. And yes, Sophie Soleri's conversations really are that dull. Honestly, there was no acting from her there. Well, what do you think, dear listener? 08459 455 555. We can speak to Annie Shaw now, who's from St Albans, the consumer expert and founder of CashQuestions.com. Annie, what do you think about this young lady in Sainsbury's who refused to serve someone who was on their telephone?
Morning, Ian. It's all a matter of manners, isn't it? It's all manners. I mean, you could hear that interaction with Sophie just then, and obviously we know what happened with this lady in Sainsbury's. Really, when you're interacting with someone, you should be interacting with them on their own. I mean, to involve a third party, the other person on the phone, is very rude. It's the same as sort of texting while you're at the dinner table. It's an extremely rude thing to do. The problem with mobiles is that we're in contact all the time, so 24/7. And if somebody rings you, it's very difficult to know what to do about it. I mean, it could be your lawyer about some incredibly important legal case, and you've been trying to get them all day, and they just happen to ring you when you're in the checkout at Sainsbury's, and you feel you've just got to take the call. But if it's, chatting about your nails, then, it's incredibly rude to be going through a checkout and just chatting about something like that when you're trying to interact and hand over money. It's also probably very stupid because you're probably not counting your change properly, and then if something goes wrong with the transaction, then that's your fault because you weren't concentrating on it.
Was the young lady... I mean, it's not Sainsbury's policy, and they've since apologised to this the woman who was affected, but... Surely that young lady was right not to serve her. If she was just having a little chitty chat, I think she says that her conversation, wasn't anything particularly important. I think she did a good thing for human decency by not serving her.
She did, but it's probably then also not her job to do that. I mean, because Sainsbury's is a big organisation and will have a policy. And from what I've read of I've just been looking up at the story just now. I mean, the girl behind the jacket wasn't that polite either. And I think it really is a matter of just being rude. And we're kind of losing the ability to be polite to each other.
It happens. I've had it in several shops where the person serving me is on the telephone.
Absolutely,
and I hate that.
Worse. Or even the two checkout girls talking to each other about their date last night or something, and you're trying to say, well, how much is this cauliflower or something, and that again is incredibly rude. And I've been in a hospital where nurses have talked to each other, about the business of the day, and I'm there, the patient in bed, and you think, hang on, what about me? You're supposed to be with me.
What can we do about it, Annie? Are we fighting a losing battle here?
Well, we kind of are, aren't we? But I would say those that are standing up for being polite, please do be polite. Be kind to each other. Be polite. And yes, that girl who was talking on her phone, she was in the wrong. She shouldn't have been doing it. But again, it doesn't help if the other girl's rude, the girl in the checkout is rude back to her, because it just kind of makes us all a little bit unkinder to each other. But I'd say just have a bit of respect for the people you're dealing with.
So, in conclusion, there's not really a lot we can do. We can try and make a change ourselves, but there's not a lot else we can do.
I think so. Putting your foot down and just sort of shouting back.
Oh, Annie, I'm so sorry. I've got to go. I've got a phone call.
Okay.
I do apologise. Thank you.
Bye.
How rude. How rude. That was Annie Shaw, consumer expert, founder of CashQuestions.com. I'll take this while we get the travel.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Hang on, I'll just be a sec. No, I've got to do something on the radio. Yeah. All right, bye.
Adam Glynn, you cheeky little sausage. I'll come over there and slap your legs.
M25 anti-clockwise. It's building up from Waltham Abbey through to Enfield, so that's as traffic comes into the roadworks section. It's also looking slow between the M1 and Kings Langley, junction 21 and 20. And the A1 already getting busy in Boreham Wood, southbound between Stirling Corner and Apex Corner. Speed sensor's not showing any other delays yet today, though. M1 is running fine, so's the A1M and the M40. On the trains, we have no major issues reported. However, on the tubes, Victoria Line has severe delays as the service recovers from the late finish of engineering work at Seven Sisters. Tickets being taken on buses and Greater Anglia services there. And the Piccadilly Line has severe delays between Acton Town and Uxbridge because of a signal failure at Ealing Common. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Adam, thank you very much indeed. Yeah, the next call you'll be getting, Glyn, will be from your agent saying you're fired. Right, 6:46. It's Wednesday, the 3rd of July. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. The government is planning to start charging some foreigners to use the NHS. The family of a man who died during a routine stop and search in Wickham are staging a protest today to press for answers 5 years on. In sport, it's men's quarter-finals day at Wimbledon. Andy Murray will play Spain's Fernando Verdasco at 4. He's the gentleman who's in a lot of the newspapers this morning without any clothes on. He's got horrible muscular buttocks. Don't like that. Coming up, under proposals to increase the size of the part-time forces reservists, will increase from 19,000 to 30,000 by 2018 and get £40 million of new kit. Critics have called it an army on the cheap. Well, before 7, we'll hear the views of Milton Keynes North MP Mark Lancaster. But before that, let's get the weather with Wendy Hurrell.
Beds, hearts and bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning. We've had some very useful rain overnight. Usefully it was overnight, and most of us are starting the day dry now. Plenty of cloud around, but we will see some hints of brightness as the day goes on. It's also going to stay dry, and I think by the end of the day we'll have some really quite decent spells of sunshine. Temperatures getting up to around 20 or 21 degrees Celsius, but it is going to be feeling quite humid throughout the day today. Overnight, some clear sky for a time, but the next batch of cloud comes in during the early hours of the morning, introducing again a little bit of drizzle here and there. Temperatures 12 to 14 degrees Celsius, no lower. And we'll start with that cloud first thing tomorrow morning. In fact, there could be a little bit more around in the afternoon as well, with 1 or 2 light showers possible. But towards the end of the day, the sunshine will come through in full force, and we should get highs of 22 or 23 degrees Celsius. Once again, a quite humid feel to things, but it will feel a little bit fresher as we go through the day on Friday. Nonetheless, we've got beautiful blue skies once again, and highs of about 22 or 23 for Friday. Over the weekend, we'll be increasing in temperature, loads of sunshine and highs above the mid-20s. In fact, some places could be hitting 27 or 28 degrees Celsius. Would you believe summer is here?
Thank you very much, Wendy.
Dear darling, please excuse my writing. I can't stop my hands from shaking, 'cause I'm cold and I don't tonight. And I miss you. Nothing hurts like no you. No one understands what we went through. It was short, it was sweet, we tried. And if my words break through the wall and meet you at your door, all I can say is, girl, I mean them all. Dear darling, please excuse my writing. I can't stop my hands from shaking, 'cause I'm cold and alone tonight. I miss you, and nothing hurts like knowing you. No one understands what we went through. It was short, it was sweet, we tried. We tried.
I understand where he's coming from.
Been thinking about the ball we drank in, feeling like the sofa was sinking. I was warm in the hold of your eyes. So if my words break through the wall to meet you at your door, all I can say is, girl, I mean them all. Dear darling, please excuse my writing. I can't stop my hands from shaking, 'cause I'm cold and alone tonight. I miss you. Nothing hurts.
Ollie Moores and his shaky handwriting. Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. Coming up, we'll be asking, should we all pay a little bit more towards the NHS? Makes it more efficient. We do with the dentist, why not with doctors and hospitals? Not a lot, just, 15 quid to go and visit your doctor. But before that, reservists will get £40 million of new kit and extra overseas training opportunities under proposals to increase the size of the part-time forces from 19,000 to 30,000 by 2018. A white paper published today will set out financial incentives for small firms employing reservists. Critics have labelled the strategy an attempt to create an army on the cheap. Well, under plans set out in 2010, the size of the regular army will be cut by 20,000 down to 82,000 by 2020. The MP for Milton Keynes North, a member of the Territorial Army, is Mark Lancaster. He joins me now. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning.
Is this creating an army on the cheap, do you think?
Well, I think given that the government are committing, I think, £1.5 billion to make sure that the Army Reserve, as it will be called, is properly funded and has the proper kit, I don't think we're doing anything on the cheap, no.
But we are reducing the number of, in inverted commas, real soldiers significantly. It seems odd to be investing in reservists, doesn't it?
Well, I think the 32 reservists who have died on operational service over the last few years in Afghanistan would probably object to you suggesting that they are not real soldiers.
It was in inverted commas, Mark. It was use of language. You know that. Play fair.
Well, forgive me, I'm just repeating your words. But I think when a reservist go on operational service, and from my experience of doing the same, it's very difficult to actually tell who's a reservist and who's a regular.
How much training do reservists have compared to regular soldiers? If you're more comfortable with that.
Well, it depends. It depends on their speciality, and I think one of the points here is that, for example, I was trained as a bomb disposal officer, so I have specialist training in that field, and in that particular field, we are very good, but you don't have the complete range of skills that a regular soldier would have. But if you go on operational service,
so they are lacking several skills that regular soldiers have. So that
you as a specialist, you simply specialise in one area.
Well, sorry, I was just using the words you used, Mark. You said they didn't have the complete set of skills.
So that you don't.
Just using the words you said.
So, as a raw engineer, for example, if I'm a bomb disposal officer, I will specialise in being bomb disposal, but I won't necessarily then also go and build bridges. But to answer your question directly, if a reservist is mobilised to go on operational service, they will have a full package of pre-mobilised.
So they will have exactly the same skills as a regular soldier.
When you go on operational service, yes, absolutely.
Then why are we cutting 20,000 soldiers down to this almost significant figure of 80,000? Why are we doing that? To save money, surely?
No, we're doing that because there's a recognition that the skill sets within the Army, there are certain skills, for example, let's say a doctor or a medical officer, which you only really need when you go to war. So a peacetime army that is not mobilised doesn't need the same number of specialists.
So do you agree with this? Do you agree with this cutting down the services by 20,000?
I think I agree entirely with that. We have to have an army that's fit for the threats that we face.
There'll be lots of regular soldiers, Mark, who are offended by you thinking it's okay to cut 20,000 soldiers' jobs.
Well, I think we've had 3 tranches of redundancy, and I think in the last tranche, 87% of people who are being made redundant volunteered for redundancy.
What about the next 20,000 by 2020? How many of them are going to volunteer?
No, I think that's already been.
Right,
those
figures. So we don't need them. We don't need them, and regular soldiers won't find that offensive.
I think what we're saying is that we are simply rebalancing the army to make sure that it's fit for the sorts of things that we expect to be done over the next...
The 20,000 people who'll be losing their jobs, they're not fit for the purposes? I'm getting confused, Mark.
Well, I don't know why you're getting confused.
Because you're not being very clear, that's why. The 20,000 that we're losing, they're not fit for the purpose.
No, I think what we're saying is that we have to sort of try, and cut our cloth, don't we? So we are now having
So it is financial?
No, it's not.
Well, you've just used the phrase "cut our cloth," which means we have to save money. So it is financial.
Well, certainly the government inherited a $23 billion deficit in defence.
Mark, you've been in government for about 3 years now. It does tire me when you keep blaming it back 3 years ago. It is to cut our cloth, is it? It's to save money.
One of the factors about rebalancing the army, the primary factor to rebalance the army is to make sure that it's fit for purpose for what we're trying to do as we move forward, okay?
I was just confused by your use of the phrase to cut our cloth.
Of course there's financial constraints.
Thank you.
There's financial constraints across the whole of government. I mean...
OK, so part of it is to save money. That's all I was asking.
Well, I think the principal point why we're trying to do this is simply to make sure that the army's fit for role in the future.
OK, and part of that is to save money.
Well, there are financial constraints.
OK, so there will be regular soldiers. So it is an army on the cheap, then, isn't it? If it's a cheaper option, Mark, to have reservists rather than regular soldiers, then it is an army on the cheap.
No, I don't think it's an army on the cheap at all. In fact, there are some people who argue that actually through the process of mobilisation of reserves, they can end up being more expensive. It's not an argument I agree with, but there are some who say that. So actually, the financial constraints have been secondary to trying to sort out and make sure that we have an army that has the right set of skills across its breadth to meet the operations that we may face in the future.
And people who are not in the army full-time, who do other jobs, who don't have the full training of the regular army, they are the right people to defend our nation and our freedoms around the world.
No soldier is sent on operational service without the full pre-deployment package, meaning that there's no difference between the ability of the reserve on operational service or the regular.
OK. Can you just say that, Mark? We've got Jeffrey's on the line. Morning, Jeffrey.
Morning, Ian.
Jeffrey, what would you like to say?
Well, I just think all that manager was saying about the army being reduced to a composite force that's going to be effective given the current situation in the world is just hogwash. It's just basically hogwash. All the government is slicing away at the easiest aspects of cutting government expenditure, which is the military, which will always take orders, always obey, and always do what is right. Whereas it won't cut a massive over-expenditure on social services because it won't win elections that way.
Mark, what do you think about that?
Well, I think if the gentleman on the phone looks at actually what is being done when it comes to cutting the cost of social services, he'll be impressed with what the government's doing. But I don't recognise that the sole driver of what's happening over the rebalancing of the armed forces is purely financial. It's not.
But it is definitely part of it, as you admitted earlier on.
Well, I certainly admitted that we inherited a £23 billion.
You also admitted, Mark,
which is now for the first time. Which now, for the first time, defence is actually got a balanced budget.
The coalition has been in at power for 3 years. According to George Osborne, most of it should have been sorted out by now. He's failed. You can't keep blaming it on Labour. Listen, you admitted yourself
I'm
that
not
part of
blaming
this.
it on Labour.
Well, you keep bringing up this thing that you've inherited. You've been in power for 3 years. You've admitted yourself part of this is to save money.
Well, we've made it absolutely clear that for the first time in 3 years, the defence budget is balanced, yes.
OK, Mark, thank you very much indeed. That's Mark Lancaster, MP for Milton Keynes North. Well, what do you think? Is it an army on the cheap? Mark seems to disagree. 08459 455 555. You can send me a text, 81333. Start your text 3CR.
BB.
Oh, we don't want that. We want a little bit of this.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's not on the M25. Heavy traffic starting back in Essex now at the M11, junction 27, coming round to the A10 Enfield and then through the roadworks. It's also slow anti-clockwise from the M1 to Kings Langley, junction 20. And then it's quite busy from Maple Cross to the M40 now, traffic building up around there. A1 into London, Boreham Wood, southbound, looking slow from Stirling Corner toward Apex Corner. Great Cambridge Road in Hoddesdon, you've got roadworks down the A1170 as you come down to the junction with the A10 at the New River Arms roundabout. The A40 in Beaconsfield works between Lakes Lane and Piebush Lane, and on the tubes, Victoria Line severe delays, service recovering from late finish of engineering work at Seven Sisters. You've also got delays for the Piccadilly Line, Acton Town to Uxbridge because of a signal failure. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much. It's nice to have a bit of feist on the air before 7, isn't it? It's what keeps us alive, keeps us breathing. Right, coming up in the next hour of the show, your views on the reservists. An army on the cheap? Or is that a little bit unfair? All of that and more after the news with Catherine Boyle.
On FM, AM, online and digital radio.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
7 o'clock, the headlines. Government plans health tourism crackdown, family demands answers in Wickham, and a £5 million refurb for Luton Town Hall.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
The government is planning to start charging some foreigners to use the NHS. Robin Brandt has the details.
The National Health Service is free at the point of delivery, no matter who you are or where you come from. Foreigners are entitled to various treatments, including emergency care and treatment for diseases like HIV and TB. Little is known about exact costs, but the Department of Health reckons it's at least £30 million a year for the NHS in England. So it's looking at a new charge of at least £200 for visitors who come for more than 6 months. It's also considering ending free access to GPs for foreigners staying less than 6 months.
The family of a man who died during a routine stop and search in Wickham is staging a protest today to press for answers. Habib Ullah died in August 2008 after being restrained by officers in a private car park. His cousin Zia Ullah isn't convinced by the official account of what happened.
You know, from the start we were told that there's an investigation going on. That investigation transpires into the IPCC turning up and being handed statements from the officers concerned. The officers have sat around in a room and conferred a single narrative, a single story. That, to me, isn't really an independent investigation.
Energy companies could be fined if they don't clamp down on electricity theft under proposals being put forward by the regulator Ofgem. It's estimated that £200 million worth of electricity is stolen in Britain every year, adding £7 to each customer's yearly bill. £5 million will be spent refurbishing Luton's town hall. Design fees and consultant costs will come to over £500,000. Tony Fisher has more.
The refurbishment of the Town Hall Extension building will allow its capacity to increase from 300 to 500 staff. 2 external council offices, Unity House and Wesley House, will be made vacant before January 2015. The council says it'll save over £1 million a year on rent and running costs as a result.
Hertfordshire County Council has apologised after personal documents were discarded outside a former adult care facility. The documents, including a staff appraisal, were discovered on the side of the road in Hatfield this week. More than £800,000 is to be spent on a new learning and discovery centre at Stowe in Buckinghamshire. The gardens at Stowe are run by the National Trust, while there's a public school based in the main house. The grants from the Heritage Lottery Fund will help pay for the conservation of the old servants' hall and cellar and the creation of 2 new jobs. It's men quarter-finals day at Wimbledon, and Andy Murray will play Spain's Fernando Verdasco on centre court at 4 o'clock. Murray has a perfect record so far this fortnight, winning 8 of the 9 previous matches against Verdasco, who's currently ranked 54th. The weather drizzle at first, but becoming brighter with a top temperature of 22 degrees Celsius, that's 72 Fahrenheit. Get the latest news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties.
This is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. It's Wednesday. It's the 3rd of July already. We were doing closed schools because of the snow just a couple of weeks ago, weren't we? Lots coming up in the next hour of the show. As always, keen to get your thoughts on some of these. Non-EU citizens could be charged to use the NHS. The idea is part of new plans announced by the government. Well, shouldn't we all have to pay a little bit more for the NHS? Wouldn't that make sense? Cuts are being made to the regular army, while more money is being funded towards reservists. You heard me talking to Mark Lancaster there. Well, what do you think? Is it an army on the cheap? And Sainsbury's has apologised to a shopper who was refused service because she was on the phone when she went to the checkout. Well, I don't know if they should have apologised. What do you think? Is it rude to be on the phone when you're in a shop? I say definitely. Facebook.com/BBC3CR. Send me a text, 81333. Start your text 3CR. Or you can give me a call, 08459 455 555.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Herts County Council is under fire for losing personal data just a year after it was criticised by the Information Commissioner for doing exactly the same thing. Personal documents have been found blowing around on a road next to a demolished council building in Hatfield. Well, our reporter Sophie Soleri has been to see what she could find by the Mount Pleasant depot just off the A414.
Debris is strewn everywhere. It's under grass, under nettles and in the trees, and much of this debris is paperwork. OK, underneath a bush, I've found a document that has been filled in. It's from the Bedfordshire Adult Care Services. There are people's records inside. And then in here, under this tree, the paper has quite clearly come out of the file as it's been hole punched at the top. It asks for the NHS number, the national insurance number, the name of the carer or service user. It is empty, but it is definitely an official document. Oh, underneath some ivy now. I've just picked up another piece of paper from a file. It asks for invoice details, staff expenses, and columns for text. Again, not filled in, but very clearly official documentation.
Well, Lib Dem County Councillor Paul Zukowski found the documents blowing in the street. Paul, thanks for joining us. How did you find them?
Well, it's quite simple, really. The Mount Pleasant depot is on the route to school that I walk my children to school. So walking along in the morning, look down, there's documents from HCC.
And what kind of things did you find?
There was a range of things. Blank care assessment forms, compliment slips
with HCC logos and name and directors' names on, and the final one that was that clearly sort of tipped the issue for me was a staff appraisal form front sheet with a staff member's name, personnel number, and so on.
And of course, the blank bits of paper, the first thought, you might think, well, there's nothing really too important about that. But I've got some here. Of course, it could be used to defraud people, couldn't it?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. The compliment slips are HCC branded with HCC logos.
Yeah, I've got one here with the director's name on and everything, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it could be used if you think about it, with an elderly person to suggest that the person at their door is legitimately from the county council.
What's your reaction to this, Paul?
I'm not happy. I'm not impressed. It would appear that the practices that HCC were criticised for some time ago they were criticised, as I understand it, for issues around electronic data security. It would seem that stretched to paper data security as well. Now, executive member that's responsible for this area has said that they put structures in place to clear the site, and that clearly those hadn't worked. But the question is, what structures were in place? Why didn't they work? How are we going to change things to make sure that this doesn't happen again?
I can't. When this was mentioned yesterday, I can't understand, Paul, how this could have happened. It's an afternoon's work, but you get a furnace going or you get a shredder, and you put them in one of those. It's easy, isn't it?
You'd think, yes.
But apparently not.
But apparently not. I mean, the site was such a sensitive... had such sensitive information in it. It was adult care services, so it was dealing with vulnerable people who needed, support care, with people with disabilities, and it would have had in the building information about their health needs. Their care packages, incredibly sensitive information. My attitude is that what they should have done was take a blanket policy when they moved out and said, right, we're going to send a bunch of staff in. They're going to clear every single room of every single piece of paper, irrespective of whether it's blank or not. And just take a blanket policy and say, that's what we're going to do. We're going to make sure this site has nothing on it, because it's had such sensitive information on it, we can't take the chance that something will get left behind.
We've got a statement from Herts County Council. Derek Ashley, Cabinet Member for Resources, said in 2009, as part of the move from the site, we made arrangements for the removal and disposal of all our operational assets as part of a standard site closure procedure. We apologise that in this instance it would appear that not all of this work was successfully carried out. We're investigating how this happened to ensure it doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
It's not great, is it?
It's not, no. And clearly it needs the procedures and policies, how they actually do this, needs to be scrutinised.
What happens next, Paul? Do you take this higher? Do you report this to the Information Commissioner?
Well, at the minute, I've taken the decision that I won't do that yet. And
why?
There's I think a really good reason not to do that. The procedure would be, if I reported this to the Information Commissioner, the Information Commissioner would look at it, and he would make a decision as to whether this was a significant breach of the Data Protection Act, which it probably is. He may find that because it was 2009 and it was prior to the previous issue, that it was covered in the slap on the wrist that the HCC got last time.
Yep.
If, however, he found that it was a separate issue and decided to fine the county council, effectively me and everybody else listening to this show as a council taxpayer, well, not everybody listening to this show, council taxpayers in Hertfordshire would be paying the ICO for the mistakes of the executive, the executive of Hertfordshire County Council.
So you're not reporting it to save the taxpayer a few quid?
I feel I would rather have council taxpayers' money paying for paying for council services in Hertfordshire, if at all possible. However, this is serious enough that I've got a meeting later on today with the Deputy Chief Executive at which this is on the agenda. Unless I'm satisfied that the structures and organisation to ensure that this doesn't happen again are in place, then I will take it to the ICO.
Paul, well, listen, thank you for bringing it to our attention. Maybe we'll speak to you a little bit later on and find out exactly what does happen in that meeting. That's Lib Dem County Councillor Paul Zukowski, who found the documents just blowing about in a bush.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is Iain Lee.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
08459 455 555. Now, Health Secretary Jeremy Hunt is expected to announce plans to crack down on the so-called health tourism later on. It's thought he'll say foreigners who come to the UK for more than 6 months should pay at least £200 a year to access NHS treatment. The Department of Health estimates the cost of treating foreigners is at least £30 million a year for the NHS in England alone. But Labour's health spokesman, Jamie Reid, wants more details about how big the problem actually is.
It's absolutely essential that any policy in this regard is based upon facts. It's not based upon perceptions or dog whistle policies or assumptions which are proven later not to be true. But it's absolutely the case that this is our national health service. It's not an international health service, and it should not be treated as such.
The Health Secretary says he's determined to wipe out abuse in the system, but Dr Amrit Kaur Rayat, who's a GP, is sceptical that the plan to charge foreigners will actually save any money.
Looking at the figures that the Health Secretary has released, the overall percentage of health tourism is a very tiny percentage of the overall NHS budget. So I'm a bit sceptical as to how much we can recoup when we put aside the cost of the administrative costs that are going to be needed to enforce all of this.
The government is also considering ending free access to GPs for those visiting the UK for less than 6 months. Part of the plans involves family doctors being asked to spot patients who are not entitled to free NHS treatment. Dr Lawrence Buckman from the British Medical Association's GPs Committee has concerns.
We're certainly not going to do what ministers appear to want, because we can't act as the border patrol for the National Health Service, and our staff cannot be put in the front line of this. It's simply not practical to challenge everybody to prove that they're entitled to NHS service.
Well, part of a solution would be, wouldn't it, is if we all paid a little bit more. The National Health Service, as we know, is struggling, OK? If we all had to pay at the point of contact, that would make things easier, make things more clear-cut, fairer. Dave's in Luton. Dave, it makes sense, doesn't it?
No, of course it doesn't.
Why is that?
Well, I don't pay no more. I've been paying, well, I've stopped paying now because of my pension.
Right.
But I've been paying from the age of 15.
Right.
Right, now when I get to my age of retirement age, I shouldn't have to pay now more.
Well, Dave,
to the National Health Service.
May I ask how old you are, David?
70.
Right, OK. In some ways, some people might think you should pay perhaps a little bit more than me, simply because, being a bit older, you might need to visit the doctors and the hospitals a bit more than a fit young 40-year-old like myself.
That's just what I was going to say. But hang on, I've been paying it from the age of 15, when I was 15.
OK.
Sometimes it went up. Majority of times it went up, National Health contributions.
Yeah.
So why should I have to pay now? After all those years, I paid for my National Health Service.
A tenner to go and see a doctor. It would stop people going if they don't quite need to go, and it would just help the system run a bit easier.
But hold on, since it's...
And you wouldn't miss your appointments, David.
I don't miss my appointments.
But lots of people do. If they paid a tenner up front, then they wouldn't miss it, would they? Be so more efficient.
But the case is, all these people... I've never been abroad. If you go abroad, you have to take out health insurance.
Right.
You do, don't you?
Well, it depends. In the EU, you can have a little card. But yes, point taken, yes.
Yeah, but the case is, so why are all these people coming into this country, they should have to pay a health insurance to cover them for 2 years if they're going to stay
I agree.
on holiday.
Yes, they should. But we should pay a little bit more as well. We pay for dentists.
No.
Yes.
Hold on.
What?
I've been with a chiropodist. I've got bad feet and I've got spine problems. Now I've been told that's all coming to an end. I've got to bend over and do my own corns. I've got corns, and I've got to do my own corns that bend over with spinal problems.
Dave, listen, we have to end it there simply for time purposes and simply because you mentioned corns far too much than is healthy on a breakfast show. Dave in Luton thinks we shouldn't pay more. What do you think? 08459 455 555.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Heavy traffic on the M25 anti-clockwise. It's looking slow from Waltham Abbey at junction 26 through to 25 at Enfield as traffic comes into the roadwork section. It's also slow from the M1 to Kings Langley and from Maple Cross to the M40. The A1, it's looking like a bit of a queue as you come through Boreham Wood. It's slow southbound from Stirling Corner toward Mill Hill Circus on the cameras. The A10 looking pretty busy into London now as well, with heavy traffic through Enfield between Bullsmore Lane and Southbury Road. Trains still running without issues, but a couple of problems on the tubes. Severe delays for the Piccadilly line, Acton Town to Uxbridge because of a signal failure at Ealing Common, and the Victoria line continues to run with severe delays as the service has to recover from the late finish of engineering work at Seven Sisters. Tickets will be accepted on local buses in both instances there. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Adam. I'm thinking of a new feature, How's Your Feet? And people phone up and they tell us how's their feet. Could be fun, couldn't it? People describing verrucas and bunions and boils or things like that. Anyone? No. Right, 7:18, a little bit later than usual. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. Ministers are announcing proposals to make foreign nationals pay towards the cost of NHS care. The family of a man who died during a routine stop and search in Wickham will stage a protest today to press for answers. In sport, Alan Wynne-Jones will captain the British and Irish Lions in their deciding test match against Australia on Saturday. Brian O'Driscoll doesn't even feature in the squad. In your face, OD. The weather today for beds, hearts and bucks. Drizzle at first, then becoming brighter with a top temperature of 22 degrees. Coming up, we'll find out more about the man who died in High Wycombe in 2008 during a routine stop and search by the police.
BBC Three Counties Radio. If you've missed any of the programmes from the last week, you've missed things like this.
We knew Myra. We were brought up with Myra. She lived in the next street to us. She knew Paulie. We were devastated when we found out what they'd done.
But there is a way you can hear it all again.
So your friend Pauline Reed, she was just 16 when she was murdered by Brady.
Go to bbc.co.uk/Three Counties and click on Listen Again. All of our programmes are available for 7 days, allowing you to listen to what you missed. bbc.co.uk/Three Counties.
If you want to give us a call about any of the things we're talking about, including maybe we should all pay a little bit more to use the NHS, and also an army on the cheap, with the regular army being cut and more funding being put into reservists, are you slightly concerned? Do you think we have a strong enough defence? 08459 455 555. Now, the family of a man who died during a police search in High Wycombe are still waiting to establish how and why he lost his life 5 years after he died. The friends and family of Habib Ullah are due to hold a vigil outside the town's police station this afternoon as they continue to press for some answers. Well, earlier on in the show, we spoke to Zia Ullah, who's Habib's cousin. He told me what happened in 2008.
It was a routine stop and search. During the restraint, 5 officers tried to restrain Habib Ullah, and during the process of that restraint, he subsequently died.
5 years down the line, Zia says they're waiting for the Crown Prosecution Service to turn this into a criminal investigation. He says it's so frustrating that they still don't have the answers they want.
It is incredible, but it's no different than perhaps the journey of every other campaign up and down this country. It seems to be a very common practice and a very standard practice. Perhaps it's something that's designed to really try out the patience of many a family.
You suspect that they're hoping you'll just get bored and go off, forget it?
Well, bored being perhaps the wrong word to use. It's really just running out persistence, and it's the sheer frustration. It's you're battling against an institution, and the various support structures around it are no different than the very institution that you're supposed to be challenging. It's not a matter of boredom. It's just a matter of sheer frustration and persistence.
Well, we can speak now to Ken Ferro, who made the documentary Injustice about high-profile deaths in police custody and made a film about the Independent Police Complaints Commission called Who Polices the Police. Morning, Ken. Are you surprised the questions surrounding Habib Ullah's death remain unanswered 5 years on?
I'm disappointed but not surprised given the track record of the IPCC.
Why does it take so long to make any progress in this type of case?
Well, the IPCC would say that there are three factors: the family, the police, and the legal system. But, I mean, these are just excuses because we've seen a history of the IPCC failing in lots of cases. We've had the IPCC now in operation since 2014, and there have been 827 deaths in police custody in those 8 years, and not one single officer has been successfully prosecuted. So that's a terrible track record, and the fact that it takes 5 years, sometimes 6 or 7, to investigate what are pretty routine cases of manslaughter, let's say in some cases, is shocking.
Is the IPCC toothless? Because am I right in thinking they can't command officers to come and give evidence to them?
Well, they now have the authority to compel police officers to give evidence, but that's not a reason for not pursuing cases vigorously. They are a watchdog and they are pretty toothless. Recently, because of the case of Sean Rigg, which had lots of national coverage, there's been a bit of a culling at the IPCC, and we're told that they're going to be much more vigorous. But it's been 8 years since they were put into operation, and they've really failed miserably. Whether they should be abolished is another question, because I don't think we can just keep repeating creating organisations that fail, and then another 10 years go by and we have, several hundred more deaths without any justice, and another organisation. So I think this one has got to be made to work.
The thing is, in this specific case about Habibullah, am I right in thinking it has been established that he was carrying a small package, possibly drugs, in his mouth? Is that right?
Well, the CPS haven't actually come to any conclusions in terms of the facts of the case, so I wouldn't want to comment on the individual case because it's still ongoing and CPS have to decide. But I think whether people carry drugs or not, or guns or not, it has to be balanced across what the police carry, and the police carry a responsibility to restrain and control prisoners with due attention. They don't.
It could be significant.
Can I just ask you a question? If he was carrying drugs, would that mean that the police had the right to do what they did to him?
Well, I don't know what the police did to him, but the reason I mentioned that he could have been trying to swallow drugs is that could have somehow made the situation harder to handle for the police, and that could have possibly contributed to his death.
It could have. There's a lot of, we can speculate, and we don't know really what happened, and I think it's up to the inquest jury and it's up to the CPS now to actually come to some kind of conclusion. But we have had cases in the past where prisoners have had drugs put on them by the police and actually forced into their mouths, and I can name the case of Kebajobi in Camden where that happened, and the police officers in that case never got suspended, and there was no outcome for the trials. So, but I'm not saying that this happened in this case. Obviously, we don't know.
No.
But what we do know is that a man has died, and 5 years later, the family still have got no answers as to what happened.
You're going to be attending the vigil today, Ken.
I will be.
What do you hope to achieve with this?
Well, I think there are lots of these cases all over the country, and I think it's very important that people come down and speak to the family to find out their point of view and to find out the truth as they see it, because we can't have these cases going on. We've got 800 cases over 8 years, so that's over 100 in any given year. So that's 2 people a week who are dying in police custody. I think that's a shocking figure.
Mark, I appreciate your time this morning. Thank you. Ken, I apologise. Ken, I appreciate your time this morning. That's Ken Ferrer, who made the documentary about the IPCC called Who Polices the Police? 08459 455 555 is the telephone number if you want to give us a call. We've been talking about possible army cuts this morning, or reservists will get £40 million of new kit and extra overseas training opportunities under proposals to increase the size of the part-time forces from 19,000 to 30,000. Critics have labelled the strategy an attempt to create an army on the cheap. Well, the MP for Milton Keynes North and member of the Territorial Army, Mark Lancaster, spoke to me earlier. He denied suggestion that today's white paper signals an army on the cheap. Well, Geoffrey called in and he had this to say.
Well, I just think that manager was saying about the army being reduced to a composite force that's going to be effective given the current situation in the world. It's just hogwash. It's just basically hogwash. All the government is slicing away at the easiest aspects of cutting government expenditure, which is the military, which will always take orders, always obey, and always do what is right. Whereas it won't cut a massive over-expenditure on social services because it won't win elections that way.
Mark, what do you think about that?
Well, I think if the gentleman on the phone looks at actually what is being done when it comes to cutting the cost of social services, he'll be impressed with what the government's doing.
Well, Doreen's in Hemel. Good morning, Doreen.
Good morning.
What do you think, Doreen? An army on the cheap?
Yeah, in one way, but I think the government is... all it wants to do is cut money from the things that it can cut money from.
Yeah.
And the army looks like a peach to be plucked. But the trouble is, the army is a 24... Hang on, let me let the dog out. The army
is the dog out now, Doreen?
Sorry?
Is the dog out now?
Yes,
excellent
he is.
work. Well done. Good. Yes.
The army is on call 24 hours a day. My husband was in the Air Force, the American Air Force. And, I mean, for the 20 years that he was in, there was a bag packed continually in the cupboard, and within an hour he could be gone for anywhere up to 3 months to a year. And that would happen today in the British Army and Air Force or whatever.
But Mark Lancaster...
that is the way of the world.
Mark Lancaster, I don't know if you heard him, but he seems to think that the reservists, the TA, as I know them, they've got the same skills as a regular army. They could go in and do exactly the same job for cheaper.
Yes, they can. But the clue is in the name, the reservists. They are reserved there in case something gets out of hand and we have to, call up extra troops, and that is great. You've got to have them on hand. But if you're going to use them instead of the army, one of the main reasons that struck me this morning is the economy. What's going to happen to the businesses where these men work normally? They're on call, admitted, to go, to help out with the army, but in other times they are working and they're doing a job.
It's a tough one, isn't it, Dorian? We've got to end it there because we have to go to Travel and News. Thank you very much indeed. Do you know what I'd love... I don't know that much, about the army and the reservists. I'd love to talk to a regular soldier today or a reservist. Mark Lancaster said that the reservists are trained equally as well as regular soldiers. I'm avoiding using the term, in inverted commas, real soldiers, but I think that's how a lot of people feel. If you're a regular soldier, what do you think? Do reservists have the same training? Are they of an equal skill setting as you? I'm sure they're very skilled. Of course they are. But if it's not their full-time job, they can't be as skilled as the regular army, can they? Or have I got that completely wrong? 08459 455 555.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
M1 problems this morning northbound. We've had lots of calls on this, thanks to Anthony, John and Chris, among many others. Northbound on the M1 there was an accident. It has now been moved to the hard shoulder. This is between junction 12 at Flitwick and 13 for Bedford. All lanes have reopened because they've got everything involved over to the hard shoulder. There was a car transporter involved. We also had reports of a van facing the wrong way. It's still very, very slow through there, but at least now all lanes are open. Traffic is on the move once again. M25 anti-clockwise, very slow from St Albans to Kings Langley, junction 21A through to 20, then from Chorleywood round to the M40 junction 18 to 16. Into London you've got delays as you come down the A1 through Boreham Wood, Stirling Corner toward Mill Hill Circus. It's really busy as well on the A10 through Enfield from Bullsmore Lane down to Southbury Road. Piccadilly Line Tube now down to minor delays, Acton Town to Uxbridge after a signal failure earlier. However, we've still got severe delays for the Victoria Line because of the late finish of engineering works. Trains, though, are running well. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Adam. 7:31, News and Sport now with Catherine Boyle.
Across beds, hearts and bugs.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning. The headlines. Ministers are announcing proposals to make foreign nationals pay towards the cost of NHS care. The family of a man who died during a routine stop and search in Wickham will stage a protest today to press for answers. And energy companies could be fined if they don't clamp down on electricity theft under proposals being put forward by the regulator Ofgem.
Three Counties Sports.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
The former British and Irish Lions captain Brian O'Driscoll's been dropped from the squad for Saturday's deciding Test match against Australia in Sydney. Wales lock Alan Wynne-Jones will captain the side in the absence of captain Sam Warburton. Coach Warren Gatland has made 6 changes in all. Jamie Roberts and Alex Corbisiero are fit to return, and Gatland admits selection was difficult.
Quite a lively meeting that we had with the coaches last night in terms of going through and making the final selection. It was tough, but we've come up with what we think is a side that's good enough to do the job on Saturday.
In tennis, Andy Murray meets Fernando Verdasco in the last 8 today at Wimbledon. That match is second on centre court after David Ferrer plays Juan Martín del Potro. On number 1 court, Novak Djokovic takes on Thomas Berdych, followed by an all-Polish affair between Lukas Kubot and Jerzy Janowicz. World number 1 Djokovic knows Berdych will be tough opposition this afternoon.
He's established top 10 player. He's a Wimbledon finalist a few years ago. Only time we played on grass, I lost to him in semi-finals of 2010. So he's a big hitter, and he's been playing well.
England's cricketers will take a lead of 352 into today's 4th day of their Ashes warm-up game with Essex. Batsman Jonathan Trott's called the decision to reduce the game from first-class status the right one. Trott said it was a lose-lose situation. In football, Luton Town will find out their conference fixtures for next season later this morning. That announcement's due at 11 o'clock, and the Hatters are once again favourites to win the league. And Stevenage striker Michael Thessalaitis has joined Ebbsfleet on a season-long loan, and that's your latest news and sport. I'll be back with more at 8 o'clock.
Call 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Hey, you know how we're all facing cuts? OK, and libraries are being closed and lunch groups are being closed and scouts are having to pay more rent and things like that. Well, Luton Town Hall's getting a nice makeover. Have a guess how much it's going to cost? No, a bit more than that. Bit more than that. I'll tell you in about 15 minutes. I think you may be surprised. Ooh. Now, Andy Murray plays his quarter-final tie against Fernando Verdasco of Spain at Wimbledon today. I wish that man would put some clothes on. The 26-year-old's aiming to become the first British player to lift the men's single trophy since Fred Perry in 1936. Well, Terry Mabbott is a professional tennis coach from Bedfordshire and joins me now. Morning, Terry.
Good morning, Ian.
Now, Terry, you coached in Scotland when Murray was a junior. Could you tell when he was a youngster that he had something special about him?
Without any doubt at all. I think when I was national coach, I wrote a report about him when he was 6, saying this is by far the best 6-year-old that I've ever seen play tennis, because it's not only the way he hit the ball, it's the fact that he could also play the game already. And lots of people are going to hit balls and kick footballs and this sort of thing, but you've got to have the feel of being able to play the game, and that's what he got from a very early age.
Now, every year there's always this expectation. Poor Tim Henman had it, and now Andy Murray's got it. Oh, this could be the year. This is the year. It's a lot of pressure on him, isn't it?
Enormous amount, because nobody has won it for so long since Fred Perry. And so that makes everyone wanting him to win when, he's at his home grounds, if you like. And so that puts him under even more pressure.
And grass isn't his natural surface, is it?
Well, it's for sure he would certainly rather play on grass than he would on clay.
Right. You didn't directly coach him in Scotland, but you put a system in place for coaching and development that he went through. Is that right?
Well, that is true, yeah.
Well, how did that benefit him?
Well, I think that it meant that his individual coach got money from the Scottish LTA. It meant that the coaching under pressure, because the Andy, when he had lessons, and all the other pupils in national squads, when they had lessons, had to write a very small report on each lesson to say how well it had gone. So this also helped bring through a number of other Scots who've played for Great Britain at Davis Cup in the past few years. You're talking about his brother Jamie Baker, Alan Mackin, Colin Fleming, and of course Elena Beltasha, who's, been Great Britain #1 lady as well.
We talk about him being British, but am I right in saying at the age of 15 he went off to Spain to continue his coaching?
Well, he did, yeah.
Well, what are we lacking over here then, Terry, that they've got over on the continent?
Certainly in Scotland it was the weather.
Yeah.
So that certainly helps when you go to Spain. And also, perhaps there were more people, if you like, come. There's not only Spanish players there, but there are other players from around the world who go to that camp.
He's got quite a pushy mum, hasn't he?
He's got a fairly strong mum.
Well done. That's a polite way to put it. Do all the potential top players need a mum like Judy?
Well, they either need a tough mum or a tough dad who is going to spend an enormous amount of time helping them in their chosen path and so reach the top. Whatever it is, whether you want to be a musician or whether you want to be a sportsman, it does need somebody who's going to give you the time to take you around and also, dare I say, spend a lot of money.
Well, I was going to come in with that. Yes, they've got to spend a lot of time, but tennis, in particular, compared to other sports like football, it is quite pricey, isn't it?
Well, it's a lot less pricey than a lot of people think. I think joining tennis clubs, most clubs will charge you less than what it costs a pint of beer to join in a week. So, and juniors probably £1 a week or just a bit over £1 a week to join a tennis club. Now, I wouldn't have thought that is too expensive.
Terry, final question. This grunting, this shouting and this... all of this nonsense that we get during the tennis... I mean, listen to this. This is... for goodness sakes. Do we need that, Terry?
Well, I thought that was you for a moment.
No, that wasn't, surprisingly, although I can make that noise if I'm paid enough. But do we need that?
Well, I don't think so, and I think that it does put spectators off, and I think that the WLTA really do need to stop all this enormous noise which some of the players are emitting now.
Terry Mowat, I appreciate your time. Professional tennis coach from Bedfordshire. Knew Andy Murray when he was a young lad in Scotland. Saw from the age of 6. He had the potential. Isn't that amazing what you can spot in youngsters? 08459 455 555. Page 3 of the Mail. Sainsbury's girl refuses to serve shopper on a mobile. Good. Woman wanted to buy some shopping at Sainsbury's, was on her phone at the counter. The cashier just looked at her. Is there a problem? Yeah, I'll wait till you finish your phone call before I serve you. Good for her. It's not Sainsbury's official policy. They since apologised to Joe Clark, the customer. I don't think they should have done. I think that one of the worst things in terms of manners is walking into a shop and the cashier is on the phone. Doesn't even look at me. My local corner shop when I used to live in London did it, and the petrol station over the road from me did it all the time. Hated it. Well, if I hate it, then I have to give them the same respect as a customer, don't I? Lots of you have been having your say on Facebook. We'll look at those in a bit, but we've been sending out Sophie Solaria, our reporter, to investigate this further. Now, Sophie, earlier on you went into a newsagent and you were given short shrift by the gentleman, weren't you?
That was so embarrassing. You made me speak so loudly. I didn't know what to talk about. It was awful. This time, I'm going into a really full sandwich shop.
Excellent.
I put my Mac on.
Yep.
My Mac that says "Don't get embarrassed."
Yep.
So you can tell me. But let's talk about something more interesting this time. Let's talk, because the last one was a bit boring. It was about nail varnish.
Yes.
This time, we should talk about my mate Nikki. She's having man issues. If I go in there talking about that and try and get served a coffee,
go and get a coffee and let's talk about Nikki. Why? Go in. What's going on with Nikki?
So I said to her, if she doesn't ring you by Friday, that he's just not interested. And she said, let me just text him one more time.
Yeah.
Well, she'd already texted him.
I'm genuinely really interested to hear about Nikki.
She'd already sent it 6 times already.
Are you in there? Are you in there, Sophie?
Desperate, Nikki. You're looking desperate, Nikki.
Are you in there, Sophie?
Oh, yeah, I'm in here now. Yeah, I'm in here now. You're looking desperate.
Order a coffee.
Oh.
What?
Oh, oh God, I'm actually getting shouted at. I've got to go.
No, talk louder. Go back in there and talk louder.
Okay, wait.
Go in there and demand a coffee.
Anyway, so then my friend Nikki, can I have a coffee, please? My friend Nikki has basically said she's really not taking it.
Tell her it's really urgent. You need a coffee. You're gasping.
I need a coffee. I'm gasping for a coffee. She's just not serving me.
Say it louder and say, can you hurry up? I'm on the phone. Do it. Just say, hurry up. I'm on the phone.
I'm on the phone. Can you hurry up? I'm on the phone. Now she's just ignoring me.
Demand a coffee, Sophie.
I want a coffee, please. She says, can you get out? She's just told me to get out. I'm leaving.
Say no, I refuse to get out.
I refuse to leave. No, I'm going. It's mortifying. I'm going. Oh my God, that was
You idiot. Oh, no, not you, idiot. You excellent reporter. So, Sophie, tell me, describe the scene. Describe what just happened there.
I've just left my bag in there.
Oh, go and get it. Go and get it, but keep talking loudly on the phone.
I'm taking my bag with me. Goodbye.
Oh, blimey. So, Sophie, what happened in there?
Well, that's that, isn't it?
Yeah, this is excellent. This is an excellent... All of these shopkeepers, by the way, well done. You are doing completely the right thing. So, Sophie, tell us what happened. Was it a man or a lady behind the counter?
It was an Irish lady. You know how scary Irish people are?
Well, I don't think you can say that on the radio. No. So, Sophie, what happened?
There's like 8 different men, builders, bricklayers, an old man reading the paper, all having their bacon sandwiches and coffee.
Yeah.
I go in, I waltz in, I go up to the counter, there's a queue of people, I demand a coffee, you know the rest.
Yes.
People think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
And
did she actually say get out, or did she point to the door?
6 times. She said, excuse me, can you get off the phone, please?
Oh,
and I said, well, no, not really. I'm having a conversation.
Yeah.
She says, no, can you get off the phone? I'm not going to serve you if you don't get off it. She's pretty fiery, that lady.
Good. And can I just say, Sophie, thank you very much for that. Can I just say, spot on to that lady. Absolutely perfect. Congratulations. That's what we want. We don't want rude people wandering into shops and telephones. I should apologise to any of our Irish listeners, of course. Sophie was a little bit excited there because she didn't get her morning coffee. The Irish aren't scary, not all of you. No, hang on a second, that doesn't help matters at all. No, of course not. She was making a flippant comment. But well done to that shopkeeper and the shopkeeper earlier on who refused to serve our reporter, Sophie Solaria, while she was on the telephone. Lots of you commenting on Facebook. We'll go to those in a second. Karen's in Watford. Good morning, Karen.
Morning.
You heard what just happened to Sophie. That cafe owner was right, wasn't she?
She was, yes. I do have to agree with her. I certainly agree with the shop assistant in Sainsbury's not serving. I mean, I don't think she should have said it's store policy because she could easily have got caught out, but she could have politely said, I don't want to serve you while you're on the phone. Certainly in Sainsbury's and other retail shops, they do have a quota of customers they have to get through. And I expect the shop assistant was just thinking, oh my God, I need to get this one through because I won't get my quota of customers done in a certain time or however long they get to serve a customer. But I certainly agree, and it's happened to me quite a lot as a customer, and I believe it should be both ways. It's just lack of respect, it's rude, it's insulting, as I think you said earlier. Excuse me. Shop assistants shouldn't be on the phone or talk to their colleagues, and quite equally customers shouldn't do it either. And in fact, because it's happened twice to me, I've boycotted 2 local shops.
You are a woman after my own heart. I am constantly telling my wife, we can't go in that shop anymore. What's happened now, Ian? Well, they gave me a funny look. So good for you. And did you...
I even had one, the assistant, there was 2 in there. One was serving, one was on the phone to her manager. Well, it sounded like a manager, complaining about the lack of staff in the shop. And I'm standing there waiting to be served. Yep. No eye contact, nothing. And I must admit, I'm not a complainer. I'd rather go on the radio and complain.
Yes, of course.
Actually go to the shop because, well, I should have done really, just said, this shop, the assistant was on the phone, it's not good customer service. But I just thought, the best way I can do it to sort of show my displeasure is not go in. And then if other people do it, maybe that might, say something.
Karen in Watford, thank you very much for that. Good point. Not a complainer, not to their faces, just on the radio. No, I'm exactly the same. A couple of, let me pick 3 Facebook comments at random. Lucy says, it goes both ways. I'm sure lots of people have had the displeasure of having a rude person serve them, correct? I hate that. John says, I'm a taxi driver. Some passengers get into the taxi on the phone and don't tell me their destinations, just keep on talking. And one more, Catherine says, I feel we've lost our ability to be tolerant and empathetic. Empathic, is that the word? Towards others. Thank you very much indeed. Well, I've learned something. It's not empathetic, it's empathic. 08459 455 555.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC 3 Counties Radio.
Still delays on the M1 northbound. It's queuing after an accident earlier between Flitwick and Bedford junctions 12 and 13. All lanes have reopened though because the vehicles involved are over on the hard shoulder, but you'll still find it very busy. Anti-clockwise on the M25, it's slow from St Albans to Kings Langley. It's also busy from Chorleywood to the M40, quite a queue through there. Northbound on the M40 for traffic that's coming off the A40 and heading up to the M25, it's looking very slow. The Barnet bypass, as you come down the A1 through Borehamwood toward London, Stirling Corner to Mill Hill Circus is queuing. The A10 through Enfield looking heavy from Bullsmore Lane to Southbury Road. A short queue looks like it's starting to build up a little on the A1M, certainly as you go past Hitchin and Stevenage, and then right up at St Neots down toward the Black Cat roundabout. The A1's looking slow there, southbound as well. Into London again on the tubes. Good news, Piccadilly line back to normal service. Everything running fine on the trains. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Adam, thank you very much. Right, 7:47. It's Wednesday, the 3rd of July. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. Ministers are announcing proposals to make foreign nationals pay towards the cost of NHS care. The family of a man who died during a routine stop and search in Wickham will stage a protest today to press for answers. In sport, former British and Irish Lions captain Brian O'Driscoll has been dropped from the squad for Saturday's deciding test match against Australia in Sydney. Coming up, £5 million is going to be spent on refurbishing the town hall in Luton. £5 million! We'll find out more before 8 o'clock. Before that, though, here's the weather with Wendy Hurrell.
Beds, Herts and Bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Hello, good morning. We had a little bit of rain overnight last night, very useful for the gardens. It's left behind a good deal of cloud, and there's one or two little echoes showing up on the radar, which suggests perhaps there's one or two showers about here and there. Otherwise, it's going to improve as we go through the day today. We should see some bright or sunny spells breaking through later on this afternoon, and more especially into the evening. Temperatures will get to 21 degrees, but it will always feel quite humid throughout the day today. A little bit of clear sky in the first part of tonight before the next band of cloud and a little bit of drizzly rain comes in during the early hours of the morning. That will hold temperatures at between 12 and 14 degrees Celsius, but give us another grey start to the day tomorrow. And up until about noon, I think there is a chance that we could have a light shower here and there. But generally, late afternoon and towards the evening, the skies will clear, it will freshen up a little bit, start to feel a little less humid. Temperatures there will still get to 22 or 23 degrees Celsius. Similar sort of value on Friday with beautiful conditions, lovely sunshine. And as we go through the weekend, it's going to be warming up, hotting up, you might even say, because some places are likely to exceed the mid-20s throughout the day on Sunday with lots of lovely sunshine, and that weather looks set to continue into next week as well. Looks like summer's just around the corner.
Oh, you little tease. Thank you very much. Fingers crossed.
Every weekday from 3, Roberto Perrone.
The bosses of a Milton Keynes lorry driver who died after falling asleep at the wheel have been found guilty of manslaughter.
With the best local news stories.
At the moment, Christmas in Luton is at risk.
We'll do our best. We'll work with the business community and other sponsors to fund the Christmas lights.
The best local travel.
Multi-vehicle crash on the M1 northbound just as you come from the M25. It's going to get busy. 3 cars involved.
With the best local talking points.
Because I was born female, that was my first sin, if you like, and I don't think I've ever been forgiven for it.
Roberto Perrone, weekdays from 3 on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Wherever you live, you're probably experiencing some of the cuts that have been brought into place. Maybe your lunch group has closed down, or your scout group are having to pay a lot more money towards their rent, or perhaps your bowls group has closed down due to lack of funding by the council. Well, Luton Town Hall is getting a makeover, you'll be pleased to hear. How much is it costing? No. Bit more? Bit more. £5 million. Design fees and consultant costs alone will come to over £500,000. Well, we can speak to the opposition group leaders on the council, the Tory Mike Garrett and Lib Dem David Franks. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Mike, when did you hear about this £5 million spend?
The first I heard about it was last week. I was on holiday. And apparently a report went to the Finance Review Group, but the first I heard of it was an email from an officer asking me to attend a meeting as soon as possible to see whether they're going to relocate my office in the town hall, my group room. I immediately then got in touch with the town hall and know what it was all about, and that's when I learned that they're going to refurbish the whole of the town hall. The extension of the town hall is all going to be refurbished. That's the new extension, which is basically in Gordon Street.
£5 million well spent, do you think, Mike?
There's two arguments to this. One, I understand the reasoning behind it is to close down some of the offices which we lease, which are very expensive offices to lease.
Yep.
And that is going to save a lot of money. But do we do these sort of things at a time when we're making drastic cuts? My answer is I would like to know a lot more about it than I do at this moment in time.
Well, let's Lib Dem David Franks. What do you think? £5 million well spent?
Well, it rather depends whether they've got their sums right, doesn't it? If they have got their sums right, and frankly their track record is not terribly good, if they have got their sums right, then it's a pretty good deal. You refurbish the town hall extension. It's not the old, not the 1930s building. The 1980s building is what we're talking about. You refurbish that completely, so you can get more people in it than you can at the moment. Get rid of all the leased offices around the town centre, and also get rid of Unity House, now, which they say will save £1 million. So you invest £5 million now, save £1 million every year from then onwards, if they've got their sums right.
Well, they haven't got a great history for getting their sums right, have they?
No, they haven't. They certainly haven't. We'll know a bit more, of course, when they start getting quotes in from builders to do the refurb work. But no, you're quite right. Their track record isn't great.
And the thing is, if it's going to save £1 million a year, Mike, we won't know for 5 years whether they've actually saved that money or not. And by then, it's going to be too late to do anything.
Well, precisely. There's a lot more needs to come out, as David has said. We can't make decisions at the moment. But what really has annoyed me, this seems to have gone on, decisions are being made without informing all the political groups on the council. And that, to me, is wrong. We should be involved with all this sort of thing, both the Liberals and the Conservatives, but we haven't been. This was sprung on me and it was sprung on David. And that's why I've got grave doubts that the figures that they're coming out with are going to ring true.
David, if they're able to do this, to downsize, that would imply that for, well, the last few years, however long they've occupied all of these buildings, they didn't need to, that they've been wasting money.
Oh, well, yeah, that's pretty clear, isn't it?
Of course it is.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the amount of money they've taken out of the budget over the last 2 or 3 years, and the effect that it's had so far on, what they're doing around the town, clearly they've been spending a lot of money they didn't need to, yeah.
And there will be people listening to this in Luton who are experiencing cuts in whatever form, who will think it doesn't look great in times of austerity, does it?
Well, as I say, it looks very good if they've got their sums right.
Yep.
I will know more when we start getting quotes in from builders for the refurb work. But it's, as the real test is then when we see how much it's really going to cost.
OK, well, listen, we will, gentlemen, thank you for that. We will keep following this story closely. The last voice you heard there was Lib Dem David Franks. Before that, Conservative Mike Garrett. £5 million to do up the town hall. If it works, save £1 million a year, 5 years, you paid it off. What strikes me is the design fees and consultants' fees will come to over £500,000. I'll do it for 50 grand. I'll throw my hat into the ring. I'll design it for 50 grand. Want a few pictures there. You paint that wall white. You want a blue carpet. Beautiful. Blue, maybe not blue. Maybe another. It's not as easy as I think, is it? No, that money's well spent. Definitely.
Call 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
The Health Secretary Jeremy Hunt is expected to announce plans to crack down on so-called health tourism later. It's thought he'll say foreigners who come to the UK for more than 6 months should pay at least £200 a year to access NHS treatment. The Department of Health estimates the cost of treating foreigners is at least £30 million a year for the NHS in England alone. But Labour's health spokesman Jamie Reid wants more details about how big the problem actually is.
It's absolutely essential that any policy in this regard is based upon facts. It's not based upon perceptions or dog whistle policies or assumptions which are proven later not to be true. But it's absolutely the case that this is our national health service. It's not an international health service, and it should not be treated as such.
Well, part of the plans involve family doctors being asked to spot patients who are not entitled to free NHS treatment. Joined now by Lawrence Buckman, who's the chairman of the BMA's GP committee. Is this a good idea, Lawrence?
I think it's important that we ensure in very tough economic times that the NHS resources are used appropriately, and the BMA looks forward to meeting ministers to discuss what they want to do. But we're not sure we know the size of the problem. We're very worried about the ethical issues, and we think it's going to be very difficult to put into practice.
GPs will be on the front line. They're being asked to spot people who perhaps aren't entitled to free treatment. How is that going to work?
We think it's going to be very difficult. We don't want us or our staff being border guards or immigration officials. The idea that you're going to have to get a visa and pay for it somewhere else is something we think is workable potentially, but we think it's going to be very difficult in practice to screen people at the reception counter in the surgery to see whether they are, quote, foreign, unquote, or not. How do you know someone's foreign? We think this is quite difficult. How do you know if someone's entitled? Are we going to have to ask proof from everybody who walks through the door? That's going to be very difficult. And what do you do when somebody is clearly ill? I'm not going to turn some kid away who's visibly ill because I can't establish their visa status. That's something we're never going to do.
Have GPs been consulted on this?
No, not so far, but we are going to be consulted, we understand, and we look forward to being asked by ministers, and we will certainly contribute to this very difficult problem. But what we're not going to do is test people as they come through the door sick to see whether they're entitled at that point. That's something, you just can't do that to people. And also, how do you decide without screening everybody? Can you imagine the chaos if every single person walking through the door has to prove they're entitled or not?
Lawrence, do you think that we're possibly moving towards a time when we all might pay for NHS services? Like we do when we go to the dentist, we pay a fee. Do you think we might have that in GP surgeries in the next few years?
I absolutely hope not. I don't wish to be a government tax collector. And there's a big difference between coming because you're sick and going for preventative care to an optometrist or a dentist. Here you're coming because you're ill, usually, and those people can't plan to be ill. And are we going to be taking money off you at the point of use? That might deter you from coming, mightn't it?
Lawrence, thank you very much indeed. That's Lawrence Buckman, the chairman of the BMA's GP committee. Well, what do you think? Should we all pay, a tenner an appointment to see the GP? It would mean that people would turn up, and it means you'd only go when you really needed to. Just think of the time it would save. 08459 455 555.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Still queues on the northbound M1 after the accident earlier between Flitwick and Bedford, junctions 12 and 13. Everything's reopened through there, but you're still going to find it rather slow. Things looking OK on the southbound M1 this morning. Speed sensors not showing any issues. Through Dunstable, the A5 running maybe a little bit slow on the northbound side as you head off past Leighton Buzzard up toward Milton Keynes. A short delay on the A1M from Hitchin down toward Stevenage. Things in London Coney looking a bit slow on the A414. It's looking quite busy at the London Coney roundabout and at the Park Street roundabout. It's also a short delay as you come along the 414 toward the M1 through Hemel Hempstead. Delays on the M25, anti-clockwise it's stop-start from the M1 at junction 21 round to the M40 at junction 16, and pretty slow on the A1 into London as well, Stirling Corner down to Mill Hill Circus. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Adam, thank you very much. More money's going to be invested in reservists, the TA. Is it an army on the cheap? We'll talk about that more after the news with Catherine Boyle.
On FM, AM, online and digital radio.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning, it's 8 o'clock. The headlines: health tourism crackdown planned, Mandelson expresses HS2 doubts, and council apologises for data protection breach.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
An attempt to tackle so-called health tourism is expected to be set out by the government today, along with a charge for non-EU citizens accessing hospital services. There'll also be a fee for those who want to see a GP. The chairman of the British Medical Association's GPs Committee, Dr. Lawrence Buckman, has concerns.
We're certainly not going to do what ministers appear to want, because we can't act as the border patrol for the National Health Service, and our staff cannot be put in the front line of this. It's simply not practical to challenge everybody to prove that they're entitled to NHS service.
The high-speed railway planned to run through the Chilterns to Birmingham has been branded an expensive mistake by a senior Labour figure. The comments by Lord Mandelson come just a week after it was revealed by government that the cost of HS2 had risen by £17 billion. The government setting out its detailed plans to expand and equip Britain's part-time forces when the Territorial Army is renamed the Army Reserve. Reservists are due to increase from 19,000 to 30,000 by 2018 to offset falling numbers in the regular army. The family of a man who died during a routine stop and search will hold a vigil outside Wickham Police Station today. Habib Ullah died in August 2008 after being restrained by officers in a private car park. 5 years on, his family say their questions remain unanswered and are demanding a criminal investigation. Habib's cousin is Zia Ullah.
The essence of the vigil really is just to ensure that every chance that we have, we're forever profiling exactly what the family's gone through and all the bad practice that we've unearthed in a short period of those 5 years.
Hertfordshire County Council's apologised after personal documents were discarded outside a former adult care facility in Hatfield. The papers were spotted by Lib Dem councillor Paul Guzikowski, who will now decide whether to take the matter to watchdogs at the Information Commissioner's office.
The Mount Pleasant depot is on the route I walk to my children to school. So I'm walking along in the morning, look down, there's documents from HCC. Blank care assessment forms, compliment slips with HCC logos and directors' names on, and a staff appraisal form with a staff member's name, personnel number, and so on.
More than 40 firefighters attended an incident at a car workshop in Aylesbury last night. Crews were called to the fire at Smeaton Close on the Anglo Business Park at around 10 to 7. They finally left the scene at 11 p.m. In sport, Alan Wynne-Jones will captain the British and Irish Lions in their deciding test match against Australia on Saturday. Former captain Brian O'Driscoll had been favourite to replace the injured skipper Sam Warburton, but he's been left out of the matchday squad altogether. The weather today, drizzle at first, becoming brighter with a top temperature of 22 degrees Celsius, that's 72 Fahrenheit. Get the latest news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties.
Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. I've just had a look out the window. It's flipping horrible. It's not nice. It's not pleasant. It's very grey, overcast. It's July. It's July. Summer is almost over. I think it finished yesterday afternoon at about 3 o'clock when it started raining where I was. Lots coming up in the last hour of the show before JVS at 9 o'clock, including non-EU citizens could be charged to use the NHS. The idea is part of new plans announced by the government. But maybe we should all pay a bit more for the NHS. Sainsbury's has apologised to a shopper who was refused service because she was on the phone when she went to the checkout. I'm not sure they should have bothered apologising. Is it rude to be on the phone when you're in a shop? And with more funding being given towards the reservists, the TA, are we building an army on the cheap? Facebook.com/BBC 3CR. You can send me a text, 81333. Start your text, 3CR. Or you can give me a phone call. It's always the best way to do these things. I think he's on the telephone. 08459 455 555.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Herts County Council is under fire for losing personal data just a year after it was criticised by the Information Commissioner for doing the same thing. Personal documents have been found blowing around on a road next to a demolished council building in Hatfield. Well, Lib Dem County Councillor Paul Guzikowski found the documents blowing in the street.
I'm not happy. I'm not impressed. It would appear the practices that HCC were criticised for some time ago for issues around electronic data. It would seem that stretched to paper data security as well. The site had such sensitive information in it. It was adult care services, so it was dealing with vulnerable people who needed, support care, with people with disabilities, and it would have had
in the building information about their health needs, their care packages. Incredibly sensitive information. My attitude is that what they should have done was take a blanket policy when they moved out and said, right, we're going to send a bunch of staff in. They're going to clear every single room of every single piece of paper, irrespective of whether it's blank or not. And just take a blanket policy and say, that's what we're going to do. We're going to make sure this site has nothing on it, because it's had such sensitive information on it. We can't take the chance that something will get left behind.
Well, that was Lib Dem County Councillor Paul Zukowski speaking to me earlier on in the show. David Taylor is from the Data Protection Consultancy. Morning, David.
Good morning, Ian.
This is the second time this has happened to Herts County Council. The Information Commission, they're not going to like this, are they?
They're not. I would imagine this could be quite costly for the local authority. They've had one warning once to improve. They clearly haven't. As I recall, the last breach that they had was pupil information with reference to attendance. So not necessarily sensitive, but to do with a young person. This time, clearly, this is sensitive personal data to some of our most vulnerable citizens. They're going to take this very, very seriously. And I would be surprised if the local authority weren't issued with a fine from the ICO.
And what kind of fine could what could they impose?
The ICO have powers to issue, well, they call it a monetary penalty notice of up to £500,000. So this could be tremendously expensive. The last 12 months or so, the Information Commissioner has become quite officious, and we've seen the size of these fines become greater and greater. So I think they really do need to brace themselves.
You say we've seen these fines become greater and greater. Is this kind of thing common, then?
I think the Information Commissioner, quite rightly so, is just sick and tired of not just the public sector, but the private sector as well, not taking the security, amongst other things, of people's personal data seriously. And they started off by issuing orders to improve. They did to Hertfordshire last April, and these people just aren't taking notice. They're not taking it seriously. So the only way to make people take note is to hurt them in their pocket. But unfortunately, when it's a local authority, it hurts it hurts us as well.
Well, this is why the Lib Dem County Councillor Paul Zukowski said he wasn't going to report it necessarily until he was going to listen to what the county council had to say and then consider his position. But he was reluctant to report it because it would be the taxpayers who had to pay it ultimately.
Well, the Data Protection Act states that if one has a breach, you don't actually have to report it to the Information Commissioner. That's what the piece of law says. The Information Commissioner would say, however, it is best practice to do so, but particularly anybody in any public sector organisation, there is an unwritten code that you must report these. So I would expect Hertfordshire to self-report themselves for this.
And if they don't?
Well, they're not breaking the law if they don't, but I would be very disappointed if they didn't. Because I think not only should they face the ICO and explain themselves. I think the people of Hertfordshire deserve to see that, but also I think they need some help, and the ICO can help them improve their systems. They can invite them in to audit them and improve the clear.
There's obviously something going on that's wrong. Someone's not doing their job properly. One of these documents that was found was a personal appraisal. So this is serious, isn't it?
Well, an appraisal could be anything from you've had this is an appraisal of a service user, I take it, not a member of staff.
I think so, yes.
Yes.
I'm not 100% sure on that, but let's assume it is.
Yes, if it belongs to a service user, then yes, very, very serious. A vulnerable person, it will have potentially information relating to their needs, their health. Yeah, absolutely. I would be devastated if that was my information.
David, thanks very much. That's David Taylor from the Data Protection Consultancy. It was a member of staff, the appraisal, I've just been informed, not a member of... Either way, it's still not brilliant, is it? Not good at all. Well, we shall see what happens. I know that the councillor we were speaking to earlier, Paul Zukowski, is having a meeting, I think, with Herts County Council today, and then he's going to make his mind up as to what he does. So we should be following that story closely.
Call 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Now, story we've been talking about. People using their telephones. It's all because of this story, page 3 of the Mail. A woman was refused service in Sainsbury's because she was on her telephone. The cashier said, "Yeah, I'll serve you when you've finished." she claimed it was Sainsbury's policy. It's not. Sainsbury's apologised and gave this woman some vouchers. I don't know if Sainsbury's should have apologised. I think Sainsbury's should have asked this woman for an apology. Really? It's one of my bugbears. I don't like it when I go into a shop and someone is using their telephone. So I have to give them the same respect and not use my telephone when I'm being served. Ken's in Luton. What do you think about this, Ken?
Morning, Ian.
Morning.
You're right. Because I bedbound most of the day, I watch out my window.
Yeah.
The things you see.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a woman got out of her car the other day. She was on the phone when she got out of the car.
Yeah.
Across a main road.
What?
She's still on the phone. She knocks on the door.
Yeah.
Got the bloke to sign for the package. Still on her phone, mind you. Walks across the main road again. And I thought to myself, if she'd have got knocked down, she'd have blamed everybody else but herself. You know, they seem... These cyclists, MP3s going on, what... How come they're all road safety?
It's one of my things, Ken. We'll do this another day. Cyclists with headphones in. No.
Oh, Ian?
Yes?
About the tennis players.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the old grunters and groaners.
The old grunters and groaners, yes.
Who make more noise than Mick McManus and Jackie Pallow.
I'm old enough to know who you're talking about.
Yes, that's right.
Proper wrestlers you're talking about.
All proper wrestlers,
yes.
you know. They used to
Kendo Nagasaki.
And all this. I mean, I stopped watching them. But I've watched three ladies' tennis matches.
Yeah.
So...
Well, you don't need to watch the tennis. You can see everything from your window, it would appear.
Yeah, but I've got a vice versa thing.
What?
When I get set up for the tennis, I'll look out the window.
There you go, you see, vice versa.
Neighbourhood watch.
Yeah, exactly. What else do you get to see out the window?
Oh, loads.
Yeah?
Loads, mate. Blokes, people drive down with a cup of coffee in their hand, still in the, you know.
Outrageous.
They're late for when they're late for work, they've got a cup of coffee in their hand and driving at the same time.
Yeah.
Phones in, everything. No, I mean...
You're like, who was it? Was it Cary Grant or Jimmy Stewart in Rear Window?
Oh, I didn't watch that.
No, you're not seeing that. You might see a murder in your street.
Yeah,
and you'll be the only witness. But look out, because the murderer will come and try and get you.
Oh,
so you'll need to blind him with a flash from a camera. Something like that.
I've even done that before now.
You've done what? Blinded someone with a flash from a camera?
Took photos.
Of what?
Well, kids throwing stones. We had a car window smashed.
Yeah.
And across the road had their car window smashed.
Yeah.
And next door but one had their car window smashed.
Yeah.
And they were picking stones up off the drive.
Oh,
these
for
kids.
goodness sakes.
One was throwing across the road, and the other one was throwing at them over this side. So that's how they got smashed.
And you took photos of them?
Oh, yes.
We all need a Ken in our street.
Yes, neighbourhood watch.
Can we hire you out, Ken?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah?
50 quid a day.
Oh, hang on a second. You're taking the mick.
Yeah, but I look after confidential equipment receipts as well. So if Hertfordshire County Council want to get in touch with me, they know where I am.
You'll be in your bed. Ken, thank you very much indeed. Well, he's offering the full rounded service there. Good for you, Ken. Well done. Well done. I've had that. You're talking about delivery people. I've had delivery man on the telephone delivering me a parcel, and I'm stood at my door while he's fumbling around for that. You don't sign a bit of paper anymore, do you? You sign those little computer screens. Has anybody's signature on one of those computer screens actually looked like their real signature? I don't even try anymore. I just take it and go, huh. Don't even bother. But I've had it where those people have been... those people? What do you mean, those people? The delivery people have been on their telephones while I'm stood there, sometimes in my pants, I'm not shy, signing for a package. That's not good, is it? JVS this morning is asking a very pertinent question. This is a cracker, right? Have mobile phones made life better? If I could ditch my mobile phone, I've talked about this before. If I could ditch it, I would at a moment's notice. I hate being contactable 24 hours a day. Hate it. Emails, phone calls, texts. Oh, I bought about 2 months ago. I bought a really rubbish old Nokia phone. All it does is does phone calls and texts. That's it. I've not been able to make the switch. I just can't. I can't do it. I'm too needy. 08459 455 555.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Speed sensors showing a bit of a delay on the A5 at the minute. It's looking quite slow as you go from Dunstable northbound up toward Hopcliffe. It's also looking quite slow past Houghton Regis on the southbound side. Now, as you come into Luton on the A6, there's a short delay, mainly past the junction with the A5 228 and then in toward Luton Station. Everything seems to be running quite well on the M1 now. Of course, we did have the big problems earlier this morning between junctions 12 and 13. That looks clear. A bit slow on the M1 spur, though, in toward Luton Airport, junction 10 to 10A. A41 from Hemel Hempstead down toward the M25. That's got a bit of a queue building up. It's looking slow into London on the A1 through Boreham Wood down towards Stirling Corner. And, of course, on the M25, it's still slow anti-clockwise from the M1 round to the M40. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Have you finished, Adam? I was chatting to JVS. Have you got anything else you could say?
Trains running fine.
I was just having a chat with JVS about to reveal some office gossip.
Ooh.
About an office romance, and then you've kind of... Yeah. Oh, well, we'll have to leave it. Never mind.
All right, fair enough.
Tell me during the trail, OK?
OK,
Thank you. I miss out on all the gossip. Right. 8:16. It's Wednesday, the 3rd of July. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. Ministers will outline plans to charge non-EU citizens to access the NHS in Parliament today. There'll also be a fee for those wanting to see a GP. The high-speed railway planned to run through the Chilterns to Birmingham has been cancelled. No, it hasn't. It hasn't, sorry. It's been branded an expensive mistake by Lord Mandelson. In sport, Alan Wynne-Jones will captain the British and Irish Lions in their deciding test match against Australia on Saturday. The weather today for beds, hearts and bucks. Drizzle at first, then becoming brighter with a top temperature of 22 degrees. Coming up, the Luton Town Hall is going to be refurbished at the cost of £5 million. Ouch! We'll find out more before 8:30. Right, let's get this gossip.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Who can forget this time last year?
I'm looking down on Gail Ems running through central Milton Keynes.
The Olympic torch relay lit up beds, hearts and bucks.
When you had that flame, it was you. In the whole of the world, you had the Olympic torch in your hand.
From Monday, the Three Counties sports team will be cycling the torch route and speaking to people involved in the sporting legacy.
What we need to do is work very, very closely with the local clubs and schools to start to develop the sport at grassroots.
Follow us throughout the day and find out just how the Olympics inspired sport for all of us.
As soon as it started, we signed up and done it on the first day.
Three Counties Sport, cycle the Olympic torch route. Monday and Tuesday here on BBC Three Counties Radio.
I never thought those two would be the type to get it on, but they have done. Well done, congratulations to them. Thank you for that, Jonathan. I appreciate that. I miss out on all the gossip because I don't talk to people upstairs.
You do realise now,
yes,
for the rest of today, there's one thing that everyone's going to be asking me.
Yep.
What about this office gossip?
Don't tell them.
I won't tell them.
It's our little secret.
Stum.
People don't say stum enough these days, do they? No one says stum anymore.
Stum.
Is it a German word?
It sounds it, doesn't it?
Stum.
Or perhaps Dutch. Under the Bruch. Stum.
Could be, the way you delivered that. Excellent stuff, indeed. I really have been enjoying your show a lot recently.
Have you?
To the point where, again, yesterday, during the consumer hour, I drove slower. So I could listen to it because I was driving off out of the Three Counties reach. And I thought, I want to hear, and I did miss the end. I lost the last bit about the lady who had mould in her bathroom, but actually shouldn't have been living in that flat anyway because she was asked to leave 2 years ago.
The landlady's been trying to get her out for 2 years.
It's an incredible story.
But you know what? That's going on all the time.
Yeah, really.
Councils are saying to people, don't move out. No, we don't care if the house is falling down you're living in. Don't move out, because if you move out, you're making yourself homeless.
We can't house you.
And we won't then house you.
It's incredible.
Yeah,
it is amazing. And I felt sorry. What was interesting about that story was how one's sympathies shifted from the woman who's got a mouldy bathroom. It's a horrible mouldy bathroom. Then when you get the rest of the story, the poor couple that own the property and possibly want to move in them themselves, and they can't.
Yeah, and do you know what? You kind of think, I've spoken to landlords before who said, I would never rent my property to council tenants. I don't care if the council say they're going to pay it, because they've had this kind of problem where they decide after 3 years they actually want to move back into their home. So they say, could you move out, please, because I want my home back. And the tenant says, well, no, I don't want to move out, and the council say, no, don't move out, because if you move out, we won't house you anywhere else. So landlords end up with the tenant stuck in a property that they can't get rid of unless they literally go through the legal process and have them evicted.
There's a bigger story in that somewhere. I think you should take this further. I can hear a whole hour on this, because it is incredible. It is incredible. Anyway, that's the Consumer Hour, which I absolutely adore. You have another 2 hours, I found out yesterday. You start at 9.
I do. I'm here from 9. Wow. I just really witter on until 11.
What have you got at 9 o'clock this morning?
Well, I've been very interested / in great pain listening to what you've been doing with Sophie Solaria this morning.
It could technically be classed as bullying. It could be. I hope she doesn't email the bosses, because I could be in terrible trouble for this.
I'm asking this morning on the big phone in today, have mobile phones made life better? The Sainsbury's checkout assistant has made the headlines today, as we all know, for refusing to serve a shopper on her mobile phone. The supermarket does not ban the use of mobile phones, but the member of staff took matters into her own hands.
Good for her.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Totally.
I think it's very rude. I go to Argentina every year. In Argentina, the culture is very different, and everyone just answers their phone wherever they are. So you'll be sitting there having a meal, and there's 4 of you, and you're all having a nice chatter, and suddenly a mobile phone, they think nothing of it. Hola, si. And you think, how rude, rude. But I wonder whether mobile phones have become so ingrained in our lives that, frankly, we need to just relax about them. We all use our mobile phones for pretty much everything now. To be without a mobile phone is unrealistic. And perhaps we need to just all relax. And if someone is making a call, that might be a very important call to them. They might be organising something very important business-wise. And to suggest that someone shouldn't take that call or should get off the phone, perhaps you think it's totally unreasonable. From 9 this morning, I want to hear from you. Have mobile phones made life better? Can I find, and I'd really love to find someone after 9, who doesn't have a mobile?
Oh, yes.
I don't know anyone who doesn't have a mobile.
My mum doesn't have one.
What?
My mum doesn't have one, no.
Well, even I got an 85-year-old grandmother. She's got one. She texts. In fact, I had to take her to the shop the other day because she wanted to upgrade her mobile phone for one that can take pictures.
What does an 85-year-old woman want to take pictures of?
Well,
beggars belief.
I dread to think. But if even an 85-year-old woman's got a mobile phone, surely everyone's got a mobile phone. Pat next door's got a mobile phone. Everyone's got a mobile phone, haven't they? And how on earth could you possibly survive with that? How does your mum survive without a mobile phone? How does she talk to you?
Oh, she uses the landline. Do you remember those?
The landline?
She constantly uses the landline. Do you remember what before we had mobile phones? And if I arranged to meet you outside McDonald's at 10:30, and you would have to meet me there, and if I hadn't turned up, you'd have to wait for like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, 45. He's not turned up. Maybe he's not coming. There was no texting. Where are you? I'm 5 minutes away. Oh, you had to wait.
And that's a very important point, because what's happened is we've all become less punctual because of mobile phones.
Yes.
Now you say we'll meet at 10:30, 10:40, you send a text, so sorry, I'm running 5 minutes late, I'll be there. We've all become very, very kind of laid back, haven't we, as a result?
I can hear someone breathing. Is there someone on the phone?
Yeah, is that Iain?
Yeah, who's that?
Yeah, this is John in Milton Keynes. I wanted to talk to you about nothing really in particular, just to say hi, really,
Oh, well, hi, I'm doing the thing with Jonathan.
I hope there's no one important in the studio with you.
Not really.
It's JVS. He's the flagship show on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Oh, that's okay. Then he can wait.
It sounded bitchy. It wasn't meant to. It sounded really rude. Meow.
But if it was anybody else in, I would have thought, what a rude man.
Yes. What? Do you like mobile phones, John?
Well, I think it's fantastic, aren't they? For situations like this, just to pick up the phone and talk whenever you want to.
Yeah.
It's fantastic, isn't it?
I'm finding this all a little rude. I'm here trying to talk about my programme, and you've suddenly just cut me off.
Hang on a sec. 1 second. So you're not a fan of them, or you are a fan of them?
Yeah, I love them mobile phones. How's the weather in Luton, Iain?
It's a little bit grey. It's a little bit overcast. It's not particularly good, I'm afraid, at the moment. Jonathan, I think you can probably go now. It's a little bit overcast. It's not brilliant.
Yeah,
thank you, JVS. Cheers.
I don't think it's too rude anyway.
I'm going.
I'm just talking to John. Thanks very much.
Yeah, don't mind me.
It's not. Well, John, it's lovely to talk to you. I should probably crack on with my show.
Yeah, okay, Iain. Have a good day.
Ta-ta.
Ta-ta. Bye.
Thank you.
Call 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Poor JVS. On from 9 o'clock. Have mobile phones made things better? 08459 455 555. Now, £5 million of taxpayers' money is going to be spent on refurbishing the town hall in Luton. Design fees and consultant fees costs will come to over £500,000. Earlier on in the show, I spoke to the Conservative opposition group leader on the council, Mike Garrett. He was alerted to the decision when he was on holiday.
The first I heard of it was an email from an officer asking me to attend a meeting as soon as possible to see whether they're going to relocate my office in the town hall.
£5 million well spent, do you think, Mike?
There's two arguments to this. One, I understand the reasoning behind it is to close down some of the offices which we lease, which are very expensive offices to lease. And that is going to save a lot of money. But do we do these sort of things at a time when we're making drastic cuts?
Well, Robin Porter is the Corporate Director of Commercial and Transformation Services at Luton Borough Council. Seems a bit inappropriate, Robin, spending £5 million when everybody's making cuts.
Good morning. Just to clarify, we're not actually spending £5 million on the town hall. We're actually spending £5 million on an office block that's attached to the town hall that we call the town hall extension.
Well, either way, Robin, OK, the town hall extension. £5 million when lunch groups are closing, when scouts are having their rents increased, when people in Luton are suffering.
Absolutely. It does look like a very, very big figure.
Well, it is a very, very big figure.
The council has had to save £54 million over the last 3 years. Of that £54 million, £3.5 million has been saved from the property budget. This investment is going to enable us to save £1.2 million per year for the next 20 years.
And where have you got these figures from, Robin?
Good investment.
Where have you got these figures from?
These figures are from our budget. The £1.2 million that we're going to save is the amount of money that we currently spend on the two office buildings that we will be shutting once we've completed this project.
Luton Council, it doesn't have a brilliant record of getting its facts and its figures right, Robin. Are you 100% sure? Can you guarantee our listeners 100% that you'll be saving £1.2 million for the next 20 years because of this?
Yes.
Right, clip that. We'll play that to you again. What that would imply, Robin, is that Luton Council has been wasting money for as long as they've had these extra offices. Then,
no, absolutely.
Well,
not.
yes. If you can streamline to save £1.2 million a year, why didn't you do it before?
Luton Council is changing the way that our offices work. We are moving to agile working. Currently, the town hall extension has got an occupancy of 300. That is the maximum amount of people that we can get into that office space. Once we sort out the electrics in the building, the air handling, we can accommodate within that building over 500. Through moving to agile working, an investment in...
So you have been wasting £1.2 million a year?
Absolutely not. That is the amount of money that we need to spend today to house the amount of people that we've got.
But why is this being done now, Robin? Why is this being done now? And why? Hello. Why is this, Robin? Sorry. Why is this, Robin? Sorry. Why is this being done now? And why was it not done several years ago?
Why is this being done now?
And not several years ago.
Well, the building.
Therefore, saving £1.2 million a year several years ago.
The buildings have got to the point now where they need investment. The £1.2 million that we are spending on the office space at the moment is detailed through because we've reduced the amount of staff that we've got within the authority by over 870 in the last 3 years. This council is working incredibly hard to save money. As I mentioned, we've saved £54 million over the last 3 years.
Do you think there are lots of other areas where you could save, but you just...
£88 million.
So, Robin, do you think there are lots of other areas then where you could save, but you just haven't looked at doing it because you haven't had to?
Over the last 3 years, Luton Council has delivered 460 savings projects to make up that £54 million. The council is working incredibly hard to ensure that it balances its budget, that it cuts its budget in the most appropriate way to ensure that maximum amount of money is spent on frontline services, on services to the people who need them within Luton.
Listen, we all know what it's like. You get some builders in to do a little bit of work and they say it's going to take 6 months and 10 months later you're still there and there's still dust coming through the bathroom. Can you guarantee that this will definitely come in on budget and will be finished on time?
We've got an incredibly good track record of delivering projects on time. The Aquatic Centre, TOCO, Building Schools for the Future, Marsh Farm Children's Centre, all of these building projects have been delivered on time, on budget.
Just finally again, Robin, last question. The financial crisis is making councils look harder at their facilities.
Absolutely.
It does mean, surely, that the council has been spreading themselves a bit thin then in terms of facilities. Why wasn't this done 5 years ago, 10 years ago?
Well, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, we didn't have the technology that enabled us to work in the agile way.
What, computers?
The technology that enables us to work in an agile way.
What do you mean by that? What technology?
Handheld devices. That means that
yes, we did.
Officers
Robin, I had an iPhone 5 years ago.
Technology is moving at an incredibly.
I know. Pace. I had an iPhone about 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay, the council didn't have iPhones 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay, right, but okay, well, we'll leave it there, Robin. A little bit desperate, but we'll see. He's 100% sure that he's 100% sure that they will be. It will save £1.2 million a year. And of course, Luton do have an excellent track record for getting things on time and for sticking to the budgets, don't they? The Ollie Moores concert, the busway.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Delays for First Capital Connect and East Midlands train services running between Luton and St Pancras. This is because of electrical supply problems at Kentish Town. So up to 25 minutes of delays for both of those providers for the moment. M25 anti-clockwise, stop-start from Kings Langley round to the M40 at junction 16. The A1 looking slow from Boreham Wood down towards Stirling Corner. Everything seems to be quite busy on the A10 in Enfield, southbound Bullsmore Lane towards Southbury Road. You've got slow traffic in Stevenage, the A602, between the A1M at junction 8 and junction 7. The A5 northbound still looking quite slow from the A505 toward Leighton Road. You've got a bit of a queue on the A41 coming from the Hemel Hempstead turn at the A414 down toward Kings Langley. And then on the A414, Park Street roundabout looking very busy this morning, the junction with the North Orbital Road there. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Just to clarify, before Ofcom become involved, I had a relatively smartphone 5 years ago. I believe I had a BlackBerry 5 years ago, but the iPhone has been around for 6 years at least. So, point made. Right, a little bit later than usual. Here's the news and sport. Catherine Boyle.
Across beds, hearts and bugs.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio. Good morning. The headlines. Ministers will outline plans to charge non-EU citizens to access the NHS in Parliament today. There'll also be a fee for those wanting to see a GP. The high-speed railway planned to run through the Chilterns to Birmingham has been branded an expensive mistake by Lord Mandelson. And the family of a man who died during a routine stop and search will hold a vigil outside Wickham Police Station later.
Three Counties Sports.
BBC Three Counties Radio. Wales' second row Alan Wynne-Jones will captain the British and Irish Lions in the final test against Australia on Saturday after Brian O'Driscoll was dropped completely from the squad. Here's Ian Robertson from Sydney.
The Lions' manual for winning a Test series has been cast aside. In a high-risk gamble, the Lions have made 7 changes, 1 positional. They won the first test and made 5 changes. It's all change again. Brian O'Driscoll has been axed altogether. Jamie Roberts replaces him in the team. Manitou Alangi comes onto the bench. Mike Phillips is chosen in place of Ben Youngs, who also drops out of the squad. Conor Murray is on the bench. In the pack, 2 changes in the front row. In come Alex Corbisiero and Richard Hibbard for Makavunapola and Tom Youngs. And 2 changes in the back row. Toby Faletau and Sean O'Brien replace Jamie Heaslip and Sam Warburton. There are 10 Welsh players in the team, a record for a Lions test.
Tennis now in its men's quarter-finals day at Wimbledon. Andy Murray will be on court at around 4 o'clock this afternoon to take on Spain's Fernando Verdasco. Here's Jonathan Overend with a look forward.
Almost everything points towards a Murray win. He hasn't dropped a set so far, has an 8-1 winning record over the Spaniard at tour level, and knows this is Verdasco's first Wimbledon quarter-final and the only time he's strung this many wins together all year. However, the left-hander can be dangerous. His flashy forehand is up there with some of the game's most devastating weapons, and his serve is underrated. If Murray can nullify those threats early, then surely he can look forward to a 5th successive Wimbledon semi-final. An incredible record.
In football, Luton Town will find out their conference fixtures for next season later this morning. That announcement's due at 11 o'clock, and the Hatters are once again favourites to win the league. Finally, Stevenage striker Michael Thalasitis has joined Ebbsfleet on a season-long loan, and that's your latest news and sport. I'll be back with more at 9 o'clock.
Call 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Reservists will get £40 million of new kit and extra overseas training opportunities under proposals to increase the size of the part-time forces from 19,000 to 30,000 by 2018. A white paper published today will set out financial incentives for small firms employing reservists. Well, critics have labelled the strategy an attempt to create an army on the cheap. Comes on top of plans set out in 2010 to reduce the size of the regular army by 20,000 to just 82,000 by 2020. The MP for Milton Keynes North and member of the Territorial Army, Mark Lancaster, spoke to me earlier on, and he denied suggestions that today's white paper signals an army on the cheap. Well, I'm joined now by Major Charles Heyman, who is a former infantry officer and defence expert. Good morning, Major. What do you make of this? Is it an army on the cheap?
I wouldn't say it's an army on the cheap. It's certainly a cheaper army, though. There's no doubt about that. By cutting 20,000 regular soldiers from the army, the government hopes to save around about £750 million a year. I mean, that's an enormous amount of money, more than even BBC managers get paid. So, not an army on the cheap, but probably a reflection of these economic circumstances at the country.
Major, are you there? Have we lost you?
No, I'm here.
Oh, you're still there. You just dropped out for a second. We got your point. I was speaking to Mark Lancaster earlier on, MP for Milton Keynes North. He said that there was no difference in training for the reservists as opposed to the regular army. Is that correct? Are the reservists as equally trained as the regulars?
The training of reservists is patchy. There are some reservists, quite a lot of reservists, who are very, very well trained and who've been on a number of operational missions in either Iraq or Afghanistan, and you really couldn't fault their training and expertise. But there are other reservists who need a lot more training before they come up to the standard that you really need for regular operations. And reservists who've been around for a long time will admit that as well. I mean, the difficulty here for the government is actually getting 30,000 trained reservists. They're going to get somewhere towards that figure, there's no doubt about that. But to get 30,000 is a very, very ambitious and a big ask.
In 20 seconds, Major, with these cuts to the regular army and increases in the reservists, should we be worried as a nation?
No, we shouldn't be worried as a nation. It will mean that we can't take part in faraway expeditionary operations in the same way as we have. But the security of the UK is almost certainly not compromised.
Major Charles Heyman, former infantry officer and defence expert, thank you very much indeed. Well, part of me cheered a little bit then at that last comment that we won't be able to take such a big role in battles and wars further away. Well, that might actually be a good thing. There are lots of people who question our presence in Iraq and Afghanistan and why are we there and are we spreading ourselves too thin? But we as a nation are safe. 08459 455 555. Mary's in Hemel. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, Ian. And we're in Libya and Mali. They're quick to jump on any, and I suppose we'll maybe sending something to Syria, and then now Egypt, and da-di-da-di-da. To me, it's soldiering on the cheap. And these people who are doing this, I know a lot of them are ex-soldiers, but the point is they're in jobs. A lot of them, are being kicked out. These people are being kicked out into the street. Many of them are homeless because they've had everything provided for them in the military. And they're almost to a sort of point where if they've been in for a long time, they're institutionalised because everything is managed for them. And it's very difficult for them out in civvy streets.
You heard the Major there, Mary, who says that even if we reduce the regular army by 20,000, as long as we increase the reservists, we'll be safe as a nation, and it will mean that we can't get as heavily involved in foreign conflicts that perhaps... And this
That's no bad thing, that.
Well, perhaps that isn't a bad thing, Mary. So if it saves us money...
Yeah, but the point is, Ian... We hear this, but we've got politicians that, to me, like the last lot, have broken their covenant with the military, and they will still want to send any abroad into foreign countries just to show that their presence, because they like to feel they're part of the world stage. And I don't think they will stop sending people abroad still, even if we've only got 2 soldiers, they'd send them.
Marion Hemmel, thank you very much indeed. 08459 455 555. What do you think? Are you worried that the regular army is being cut by 20,000 and the reservists will be increased? Not by 20,000, by 11,000. So it's going to be a whole smaller thing. Is it an army on the cheap? Does it concern you? Or are you slightly relieved that it means we'll still be safe, but we can't get involved in lots of conflicts around the world? Does that relieve you ever so slightly? 08459 455 555. We've been talking as well about the possibility that foreign nationals, not members of the EU, may be charged to use the NHS over here in the UK. And it kind of got me thinking, perhaps we should all pay something at point of contact. We do when we go to the dentist. Even if it's an NHS dentist, you still pay something. So, I don't know, what, £10, £15? Let's say £10 for every GP's appointment. Hospital fees, that would be negotiable, but £10 to visit the GP. Makes sense, doesn't it? We've got some text here, 81333. Start the text 3CR. Pat says, paying to see the doctor. I didn't go to see the doctor very often. If I had to pay, I would probably have self-diagnosed irritable bowel syndrome last year because that is what my symptoms indicated. Actually, it turned out I have cancer. So no to paying to see the doctor when you need to. Kaz says the GP you had on got it wrong. Job applicants have to provide proof of their right to work in the UK, so it's not beyond the wit of man or woman to devise a workable system. Mandy in Luton says, why don't they tighten up on regulations already in place? I seem to be in a minority of people who have to pay for prescriptions. Chemists are supposed to ask for proof of entitlement to free medicines, but rarely do. Oh, Mandy, every time I have collected a free medicine, not for me, but on behalf of somebody, I've had to show the little card or the form or the document, so I have had to do that. Another thing we've been talking about is manners, is what this boils down to. Manners. After a lady in Sainsbury's wasn't served until she ended her phone call. We've been asking about people using their phones in shops. I hate it when I go in a shop and the shopkeeper is on the phone and serves me while on the phone, without even looking at me sometimes. I think it's awful. But if I hate it, I have to give them the same respect, don't I? I can't use a phone when I'm ordering something. Facebook.com/BBC3CR. Lots you've been having your say on this. Let's pick some of these at random, shall we? Ruth says the customer was being rude on the phone. Sainsbury's were correct not to serve her. It's not Sainsbury's policy, by the way. They have since apologised and given her a whole £10 worth of vouchers. Wow. No one should use their phone whilst being served. I re-emphasise it's rude in capital letters because she's shouting with 4 exclamation marks. So she's shouting with an inflection in her voice. Julia says, politeness has gone out of the window. What happened to talking to the person in front of you? Customer is wrong. She could have always let the person behind her take her place until she got off the phone. Another thing I don't like in shops, to give the other side of the coin, is a lot of these supermarkets, they have trained their cashiers how to have a conversation. They go on conversation modules. Today, team, we'll be learning how to have a conversation. So when the customer... I hate it. How are you today? Good, thanks. Did you find everything you needed? Yes. Enjoying the weather? No. Don't like that. Don't. Just serve me. Just serve me. That's all I want. OK, just serve me. Jenny quickly says, of course it's fine to talk on your phone as you're shopping, but not at the checkout or during interaction with the staff. I was in a supermarket the other day and the customer in front of me at the kiosk remained on the phone, didn't speak to the cashier except to ask for what he wanted, and then just slapped down his money, took his goods, and walked off. The cashier then quietly called him something extremely rude. Oh dear. I didn't think it appropriate to use that sort of language whilst another customer was present, but I certainly understood the sentiment and felt exactly the same way. When I used to work many, many years ago in HMV, it's when Robson and Jerome were big, because we had to play it all Christmas. I worked in HMV behind the counter. Oh, I hated it. Oh, it was soul-destroying, partly because we had to listen to Robson and Jerome all day long, but partly because it turns out people in shops are really rude. So I developed a skill, and I can still do it now. I won't do it here, but I developed a skill where I could be behind the counter. It's like ventriloquism. And I would have a member of staff beside me, and I would say, "Oh, Robson and Jerome, fantastic," and then say something very, very rude about them, but they couldn't hear it, but the person next to me could. It was wonderful. I'll do it when Paul Scoins comes in a little bit. He won't hear it, but you will. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Train delays at the moment. First Capital Connect and East Midlands trains delayed by up to 25 minutes from Luton to St Pancras. It's electrical supply problems causing issues around Kentish Town. London Underground will take your tickets once you get in toward London. Disruption probably going to be ongoing for at least another half an hour. The A602 in Stevenage is looking quite slow between the A1M at Junction 8 and Junction 7. Northbound on the A5, Dunstable, it's slow from the A505 up toward Leighton Road. Eastbound in Hemel Hempstead, the A41 is looking slow as you come from the A414 down to the M25 at Kings Langley, and on the A414 a bit of slow traffic at the Park Street roundabout. Meanwhile, if you're joining the M25, expect it to be stop-start from Kings Langley at Junction 20 round to the M40 at Junction 16. Slow into London on the A10 through Enfield from Bullsmore Lane towards Southbury Road, and queues as well in Boreham Wood on the A1 southbound as you come to Stirling Corner. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Hey up, Chuck. 8:46, it's Wednesday the 3rd of July. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. Ministers will outline plans to change non-EU citizens to access the NHS... Sorry, to charge non-EU citizens to access the NHS in Parliament today. There'll also be a fee for those wanting to see a GP. The high-speed railway plan to run through the Chilterns to Birmingham has been branded an expensive mistake by Lord Mandelson. In sport, men's quarter-finals day at Wimbledon with Andy Murray set to play Spain's Fernando Verdasco on centre court at 4. Coming up, the high-speed railway plan to run through the Chilterns to Birmingham could become an expensive mistake. That's according to a senior Labour figure. We'll find out more before 9, but before that, let's get the weather with Wendy Hurrell.
Beds, Herts and Bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning. After some rain last night, so we're fairly dry out there at the moment, and it will remain so throughout the day with just a small chance of a shower coming from the thicker bits of this cloud. And it is going to be a pretty cloudy day, it has to be said. I think the best chance of seeing the cloud break will be late afternoon and towards the evening, when there will be some hints of brightness and sunshine. Temperatures will get to 21 degrees today, nonetheless, so it's going to be feeling quite humid out there. This evening and overnight, the skies will actually clear for a time, but the next band of cloud rolls in from the west in the second part of the night towards the early hours, and that's going to introduce one or two drizzly outbreaks of rain into tomorrow. And it's still knocking about here and there. There's still two sections of this weather front that they're going to come through. So we'll see the first one through in the morning, something a little bit brighter, and then perhaps some thicker cloud around about lunchtime in the first part of the afternoon, with the chance of a light shower. But for us all, as we go through the late afternoon and towards the evening, the skies will be blue and temperatures will be up to around 22 or 23 degrees Celsius. It will feel a little fresher and less humid into Friday, but a lovely day nonetheless. We'll have some sunshine and temperatures will get to the low 20s once again. As for the weekend, well, since the sunshine is continuing, the temperatures will be continuing to be on the up, and by Sunday we could hit highs of 26, 27, maybe 28 degrees Celsius. It looks like that kind of weather is going to stay into next week as well, so a prolonged spell of summer just around the corner.
Thank you very much.
If you've got a problem with a company, a council or an organisation, there's one man you should come and speak to.
You've got a problem with a mattress, I gather. Tell me all about it without naming any company name.
Jonathan Vernon Smith.
Well, every time she tried to book, the trip was cancelled because of adverse weather.
The JVS show fights for your rights and tackles your consumer problems.
Said send the receipt off and you'll get the cheque in the post.
If you need our help,
I went to speak to the man that runs this golf club.
Email jvsshow@bbc.co.uk.
I'm just very pleased that you've got the money.
And we could do the same for you.
Thanks ever so much, Jonathan.
The JVS show on BBC Three Counties Radio.
The high-speed railway planned to run through the Chilterns to Birmingham could become an expensive mistake. That's according to a senior Labour figure. The comments by Lord Mandelson come just a week after it was revealed by government that the cost of HS2 has risen by £17 billion. Well, our political reporter Paul Scoynes is here. Paul, this is in today's FT, isn't it? Financial Times.
Yes, not often that we look at the Financial Times in our paper reviews, but however, this is the main story, and it's quite a an interesting article, and it says some pretty serious stuff. This was the senior Labour figure, Peter Mandelson, Lord Mandelson, who's writing in today's paper saying that he once supported HS2 but now fears it could become an expensive mistake, and he says that politicians should not be afraid to think again about a project which, its cost has risen again by a quarter, and says that, at the time that they supported it back in 2010, Labour thought they were emerging from the worst financial crisis of our lifetime. He then says that we were on the eve of a general election and keen to paint an upbeat view of the future, and he said that at that point HS2 looked like a surefire candidate to attract private funds, and he says it's now far from clear.
I'm confused. Mandelson is saying this. I'm also looking at this. Alistair Darling, the former Labour Chancellor, over the weekend said that HS2 would suck money out of the budget. This was a Labour idea, wasn't it?
Well, yes, it was certainly backed by Lord Adonis, who was at the time the transport, I think it was the rail minister, and this was a clear Labour policy that they wanted to back. The Conservatives apparently were very hot on it back then as well, and when the coalition came into government, they had a debate about whether or not they'd still go ahead with it, and in 2010 it was put through. And as you heard only last week on BBC Three Counties on this programme, Cheryl Gillan, who was the MP, or is the MP for Chesham and Amersham, she's Conservative and very much against it, she was saying that Labour will push this bill through that we heard last week, and that's when we heard about the vast increase in the amount of money that this was going to cost, from 33 billion to 50 billion. That huge 17 million pound increase in costs.
Business leaders say it's vital, don't they?
Yeah, they do. I mean, we've heard on this programme the views of the Birmingham Chamber of Commerce, who said that it would absolutely free up the northwest. Interestingly, the argument seems to have changed from it being about speed to being about capacity, although in his article Lord Mandelson says that the glaring gap, quote, in the analysis that was done on HS2 was the alternative ways of spending the money, this huge, at the time, £30 billion. Obviously we know that that's risen. They sort of didn't take account of the future rail capacity, the amount of economic growth and jobs it would create, the gap that would potentially narrow between north and south. All of those areas weren't really analysed with particular rigour, and he said that the assumption that this would all change wasn't quantified or proved. However, just speaking earlier today to the BBC, Mike Amey, who's a managing director and portfolio manager at the Bond Investors PIMCO, said unfortunately infrastructure projects like this are often hit by doubt.
There's two things that struck me out of this story. One is the magnitude of the project, and obviously the revisions to how much it's going to cost are pretty staggering. I guess that the broader aspect which strikes me is one of the challenges we've had for so long in this country has been to get this infrastructure spending going, and I think this is just a classic example of the challenges that we face in kind of kick-starting the economy.
Call 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
There's only 5 minutes of the show left. Look at that. I was about to throw out the phone number. If you've not called, well, you can still give us a call in the last few minutes if you like. But if I were you, I'd suggest you start phoning JVS. We'll give you a little reminder of what his question is shortly. It's going to be a corker today, though. This morning, we've been talking about whether or not it's okay to use a mobile phone in a shop. There's a story in some of the newspapers that Sainsbury's had to apologise to a shopper who was refused service by one of their staff because she was on the phone when she went to the checkout. The cashier said she wouldn't serve her till she ended her conversation. I think Sainsbury's was wrong to apologise. I say well done to that cashier. We're losing. It's small little things like this that are undermining our society that we live in today. She was being rude. She shouldn't have had to apologise to her. Well, our reporter, Sophie Solari, has been out this morning. And if I'm honest, Sophie, if I had a conscience, I'd feel a little bit guilty for what I've asked you to do. I don't have a conscience.
No, you don't have any conscience.
No, and it could technically be classed as bullying if you wanted to refer it higher up the BBC chain.
Which I will.
OK, well, that is your prerogative. What did we get you to do this morning?
Well, you asked me to go into shops and spring upon poor unsuspecting cashiers.
Yes.
My rudeness, that is chatting on my mobile phone, and they didn't take it well.
No. Shall we have a listen?
Yeah.
OK. Are you in the shop?
Yeah.
Keep talking on the phone. Keep talking on the phone. Don't talk to him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I said you can't have that colour.
Sophie, is he giving you a funny look?
It's bad. Yeah.
Is it a dirty look?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Start talking louder.
No.
Laugh hysterically.
Quid round. You go with it. Oh no, he's saving someone else. I'll just take my 20 back.
What happened?
He moved my item aside and served somebody else.
I obviously just came in here to buy chewing gum, and I was on the phone the whole time. Did you dislike that?
It's okay, we can wait for you because you are a customer. Then
Yeah.
that's my duty.
This time, I'm going into a really full sandwich shop.
Go and get a coffee and let's talk about Nikki. Go in. What's going on with Nikki?
So I said to her, if she doesn't ring you by Friday, give one more time.
Yeah.
Well, Nikki.
Are you in there, Sophie?
Oh, yeah, I'm in here now. Yeah, I'm in
Okay.
here now. You're looking desperate. Oh God, I'm actually getting shouted at. I've got to go.
No, talk louder. Go back in there and talk louder.
Can I have a coffee, please? My friend Nikki has basically said she's really not taking it.
Tell her it's really urgent. You need a coffee. You're
It's really
gasping.
urgent. I need a coffee. I'm gasping for a coffee. She's just not serving me.
Say it louder and say, can you hurry up? I'm on the phone.
No, she's just ignoring me.
Demand a coffee, Sophie.
I want a coffee, please. Can you get out? I refuse to leave. No, I'm going. It's mortifying. I'm going.
Describe what just happened there.
I've just left my bag in there.
Oh, go and get it!
Madam, I'm from BBC Three Counties Radio. I'm really sorry to have behaved so bizarrely in your cafe.
They've all left now.
How did you find my actions just then?
Very rude, actually. There's people in the queue behind you, and obviously I can't get to them if you're standing in front of the queue holding it up.
At any point, you could have... listening back to that, I feel embarrassed. You could have told me to jog on.
I'm mortified.
I think they were right, though, not to serve you in those situations.
Absolutely they were. I said, well done, thank you for being so firm with me.
Moving on swiftly, we've got a couple of texts here. Janet says, whatever benefits mobile phones may have brought, they've led to a decline in good manners. People shove money at shop assistants, bus drivers, etc. Their phones are clamped to their ears and no please or thank you. You also hear someone's complete life story on a bus or a train journey. Some often do not need the benefit of the phone. They talk so loudly. You often just get people saying... Yeah, I'm on a train. I'm on a train.
I like hearing the life story. That's my favourite bit.
I'm genuinely fascinated about Nikki, who you were talking about then. Nikki, and is everything okay with Nikki?
Yeah, she's sorted now.
Okay, good. Okay, we'll talk about her off air because I miss it. Louise says, whilst working at Waitrose a few years ago, I served a customer who did not get off her phone the whole time. It took me whole time it took me to put her week shop through the till. Not only that, she told me to get on and do the packing too. How rude! When I told her the price to pay, still on the phone, she told me I was incredibly rude to interrupt her. She reported me and they took her side. I left not long after that. I hate customers on phones in shops. Well, I think we've had lots of texts asking about Nikki as well, but Nikki, it was a case study. She is fine now.
She's real.
Well, JVS is... Thank you for that, Sophie. You went above and beyond today. JVS Show is talking about this on his show today. Have mobile phones made life better? 08459 455 555.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Still problems on the trains. East Midlands trains and First Capital Connect delayed by up to 25 minutes from Luton to St Pancras. This is because of electrical supply problems at Kentish Town. And London Underground will accept your tickets once you get as far as London. Things looking quite busy on a few routes still. The M25 anti-clockwise is stop-start into the roadworks section coming toward Potters Bar. It's also slow anti-clockwise from Watford to the M40. Delays on the A1 at the Black Cat roundabout. It's congested back to St Neots. The A1M looking heavy from Stevenage around junction 8. The A1 then into London is busy at Stirling Corner. You've got queues on the A10 through Enfield from Bullsmore Lane to Southbury Road. The A404 heading into High Wycombe is looking pretty busy, and delays on the A41 as you come from Hemel Hempstead down toward the M25 at Kings Langley. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Adam, thank you very much. Right. Well, I enjoyed that. I hope you did. Don't forget, you can go to iTunes or the BBC website and download the podcast of the best bits of this show. I'll be back tomorrow at 6. JVS is up next. Always worth a listen. Until tomorrow, from me, ta-ta.
On FM, AM, online and digital radio.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Iain. Good morning. Welcome to the JVS show. I'm Jonathan Vernon-Smith. It's Wednesday morning. I'm on today's big phone-in. Have mobile phones